And we're red is on.
Oh, my mic. Good evening, and welcome to the Thursday, March 7th, 2019 Selectmen's Meeting. May we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I purposely messed him up.
Yeah, well, here we are.
Okay, this is great. We've got a few people in the audience as well tonight. Thanks for coming. We're going to start off with, we've got some minutes that we have to approve. So we're going to look at the minutes of Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2019.
I just have a question, and this isn't a correction. Under action items, under the town report, Moderator Chuck Mitchell would like the board's approval for Lucinda Holt as an inspection elected. He needs one more person. My understanding that he was coming to us with another person, that it wasn't to be put out there that he needed one more volunteer. This sounds to me like he needs another person.
As the ones that were usually there are not available, I can add that. Because the regular ones are...
He has somebody that, my understanding was that he has somebody in mind, he just needed to ask them?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
That is correct at the time, that was correct.
Got it.
You'll see tonight from my report that he needs your approval on another one. But with respect to this, you are correct. So that needs to be clarified. It wasn't that he needs another person.
we can just kind of word it
Yep.
that,
I'll just take that out.
yeah, okay.
On the last page in the Selectmen's report, I think it should be a D at the end of share. Under Selectmen's report, Selectman Constantino shared information.
Can we go back to also the, under Kevin LaChapelle, begin his presentation? Second paragraph, hold on a minute. Second paragraph, Kevin reiterated the warrants are for land and architectural engineering only. Would architectural engineering cover your geothermal and all of that? That covers all encompassing of what we are actually going to do with the property?
I think of architectural and engineering.
That's what it should say.
Probably, but what did he actually say?
Well, it does.
Well, on
Is that what he actually
on the
said?
presentation, it said and engineering.
Oh,
So
did
that
it?
was my thought, was
Yeah.
there's you know, we have geothermal, we're gonna end up with construction-ready,
Yeah.
shovel-ready plans, so I don't know if that would be the way to word that. I don't want this to come back that, well, you said just architectural plans.
Right, it was architectural, civil engineering, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing,
Right,
geotechnical.
exactly.
So we can put that in there.
All right.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, February 14th, 2019, as corrected.
Second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm not quite finished, hold on.
Or get another moment?
Okay. All right.
Anybody else? All those,
Just a question, John. Has Conservation done anything yet on the tree of heaven? Have you guys met?
It's in my report,
Okay.
so I can tell you now if you want. or-
Either way, doesn't matter.
you-
Catch up.
all those in favor to approve the minutes as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved, unanimous. Okay, next up, we have Dari.
Thank you. I went ahead, rather than handing out another, 100 pages of paper, I went ahead and brought any edits that were made. Catherine and I had some discussions about edits. And I'll show, if that's all right with you guys, I'll just show them to you on the screen, and then if you guys agree that everything looks good, I can, as you move on to your next item of business, I can print copies and distribute them to all of you.
Yes, I'd like a copy.
Okay.
When is
So
it?
I'm just going to start right in and kind of scroll through here on the screen. Cover page, I think was fine. The fact sheet was fine. We got the map that we all agreed upon. Here are these application instructions at the bottom. It's a thank you for your interest in RSA 79E, and good luck with your application and your restoration project. And we agreed that it kind of had an odd sound to it. So Catherine suggested we pull that out. I agreed, and I think we'll replace it with thank you for your interest in the community revitalization tax relief incentive period. So there's that. So let's go to the application. Catherine made a good point. Under existing building information, existing uses as described, current use, size, and number of employees, shouldn't it also ask who else is in there, occupants-wise? So I agree that seemed like a good idea. Same thing here, project description, proposed uses, describe use, size, and number of employees, and then add and/or occupants. When we asked the question, will the project include affordable residential units? Catherine made the good point that that's not, the concept of affordable residential units could be, hard to pin down. So I suggested we add the definition that's in the affordable housing legislation, 674-58 through 61 or whatever it is, but the definition in 674-58. It puts actual numbers on what affordable means. Here there was a error Catherine caught. It said, does the blank involve replacement of qualifying structure? Should have been, does the project involve replacement of qualifying structure? So if you look at the legislation, right at the outset in the Roman numeral 1, it talks about the purposes of the program, and it says, when it talks about residential, it talks about residential development that contributes to economic and social vitality. So I think Catherine was correct that that should be added to that question.
that defined?
No.
That seems ambiguous. I understand that it's part of the language.
Yeah.
But what any house contributes to the social vitality?
Well, then I guess if you believe any house contributes, then those words don't really change anything.
Well,
I think
doesn't hurt anything either, right?
Right. I think what it allows for the possibility, it gives you guys some leeway to potentially, I guess, deny something that came in and claimed increase in residential housing, but you guys just didn't feel like it was a benefit to the community. Maybe you actually feel like it's a detriment. So that was the purpose, I think. I mean, I think that,
That was to add the exact language from the RSA.
yeah.
It reads, in-town residential uses that contribute to economic and social vitality.
That must be defined somewhere in those RSA.
But and just by the very nature that you're putting it in downtown, it's creating economic and social vitality because people are out walking around, and that's what that does.
Okay.
That's a good point, Joe.
But, all right, so
Seems ambiguous.
I would suggest that it doesn't hurt anything. Would you agree by having it in there?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I just wondered if it didn't define it.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of. So, okay, that gets us through the application. Here's the RSA. We're not going to change that. Here we've got the affidavit. No changes on that. Then with the covenant. So same change here, where the covenant initially talks about the public benefits on Roman numeral 5, same thing, that contributes to economic and social vitality. So under insurance, the property owner is required to obtain and maintain casualty insurance as well as flood insurance. Catherine made the good point, why not add liability? So I said, I don't know why not, let's do it.
Can you just go back to that for 1 second?
Sure.
So the property owner is required to obtain and maintain casualty and liability insurance? So you're, okay,
I have no expertise on this, so I can't really.
I'm okay with that. Keep
All right.
keep going, I misread it.
Also,
Right.
I'd like to mention that, that I made the decision to replace grantor and grantee with town and owner, because I have trouble with the grantor and grantee myself, but I know other people have the same issue. It gets confusing as you read through. So in the version that I'll be handing out, if this meets your satisfaction, you will see town and owner used throughout the covenant. Lastly, when Catherine brought up the idea of insurance, it occurred to me that previous contracts I've worked on in the past had an indemnification clause. So I asked Tim if he could help me identify some contracts that the town has entered in the past that had good indemnification language. And I pulled this, I think, from a 2013 contract with Casella. Here, I'll actually,
Isn't that garbage?
Wow,
if you want,
I almost forgot about that.
so that you don't have to read it on the screen. It's in, here is where I inserted it into the document on the
Thank you.
third paragraph, second or third paragraph. And that's the extent of the changes. So again, if that works for everyone, I'll sit back down on my computer and get copies for everyone.
Question. Can we adjust it such that they don't use it as like a flipping mechanism? So I do the,
Oh, yeah, we're.
so that if they sell within a certain time frame, we recoup the taxes that we should have received had it not gone through the process?
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I guess I would, I mean, if the goal is economic, you know, dispersal for economic activity, do you definitely not want the benefit to carry on to the next owner?
I think Peter has a good point, because I did get a phone call on that. I did not have the answer to that. Because you're right, do you not want it to carry on to the next owner as a benefit, the economic development? But what's in it for someone to, build it up, flip it, up we go, and get the benefit of the tax relief? The next owner doesn't get the benefit of the tax relief, right?
Right. To me, at the point you sell it, that's the new value.
Wasn't there a clause, 5-year?
I mean,
Yeah, it's a
Well,
term, it's not.
Well,
is a
no,
term.
it can be extended or go past it, I believe, if you read the RSA.
I
We
guess,
can extend it.
Jeannie?
I guess the question would be is what is it that you want? If you would prefer that it not be transferred to the next owner, then the next thing I would do is I'll call the Preservation Alliance tomorrow and find out if that is even something that you can do, and if they say it is, and that's what you want, then we'll change it. If you can't, you can't.
It's not necessarily what I want, I
Well, it's a
want
good
what's in the
question.
best
What
interest
comes
of the
up?
town.
And it did come up last time.
Right.
But what would be the disadvantage of somebody buying a property, using this to fix a property that right now isn't generating much taxes because of its debilitated state, and they turn around and sell it for far more,
Right,
because now they've put all that into it
which would be a huge
for
advantage.
the town, and it's
Mhm.
worth more because the assessed value is more.
And
so
the next owner would
taxes.
be paying the taxes.
Right, and
So
so
we
we
have
have
a-
a productive building.
So we have a contractor that goes in, makes buku bucks, and gets some extra because you're giving him a tax break.
Well, but he's
I
also
don't, to me, it's
revitalizing
if
a
I'm
building.
staying there, that's who it's targeted for.
but the
He's
whole
revitalizing
goal
a
of-
building.
Sorry,
I want time.
Chairman.
Okay, so,
I'm interested in what Dario wants
Dari?
to say.
Thank you, sorry. The whole goal of the program is to spur economic development, economic activity. And that is to create incentives, it's to make it more profitable to buy and sell on Main Street.
And not only that, but to improve your downtown, the look of your downtown. That's the incentive that you're creating to get people to do that, because you want your downtown to be improved.
To
You want
improve
other
any
people to
historic.
do it, But we don't have to.
Which is in the best interest of the
Right.
town.
And in 5 years, we get the full day.
Right.
That's up
Or-
to 5, because I think we can also say a shorter term.
Well,
That's true.
if it was something that made sense, yeah, but otherwise, at the end of 5 years, it goes on the tax rolls at full price, new and improved.
And to me, if it sells after any time, that's the end of it.
You're saying that, so within, let's say, 2 years, it
Someone
sells.
flipped it. Well, once it sells, that's telling me that's its new value. Spot market. That's what the market's gonna bear at that point.
Right.
What's
this is an
Avatar
incentive,
gonna
this is
assess
an
it at?
Extra this is an outside of the market incentive.
Right,
I
but,
don't know,
but at some point, it has to hit the tax roll.
But I have to believe that the person that legislated for this RSA to go through thought that, did I just say that? Thought that process through?
Hey,
Again, the
Did you
selectmen,
write it?
no.
Oh, okay.
the selectmen set the term, and it's up to 5 years, so you can do it for 1 year,
Yeah,
or 2 years, or a year and a half, or whatever.
yeah.
But I'm still back to, what if somebody bought, let's say the Salt Body Building, it's been empty for decades. It's
Renovated.
not, its assessed value is very low. Somebody comes in and puts money into it, revitalizes, now it's a productive building.
Yay.
I'm fine with that.
It's
Keep going.
worth more, they sell it, they
Now you have a new
hang on,
value.
hang on.
they make money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy because now somebody's bought it for more money than they did, and they
And
may
we have
have
a green
profited
tax
by
rate,
it.
and we have
But
a-
now we have a viable
Tax base.
structure that's,
but I don't
Sorry.
feel like, I don't know the answer as to whether, if you sell it within your term, let's say you have 5 years and you sell it after 2.5 years, I don't know that it automatically goes away and that new buyer immediately starts paying taxes on the full value of the property. And I still don't, I wouldn't even necessarily make us recommendation on which ways you should go. I can see how it might make it more attractive for the buyer to know that the first 2 years they're in there, they're still going to enjoy that tax credit. And so it's still spurring economic activity.
Now,
It's,
I have one question regarding that is, if the tax benefit is covenant with, or travels on with the new buyer, is the maintenance of the property and all the other terms covenant of the deed? Is that a part of the deed, so that on the new deed that comes out for the new buyer, it says all these things apply to it, you know, including the insurance, the indemnity, the maintenance of the property, and all that? Will that carry forward?
Oh, that's a good point, because it is really.
So they'd be required to have it on their deed for that term?
I believe that is the case, that it goes with the property.
So the whole package would go with the property. I think our tax collector has some input on this.
I just want to make a point that if you are going to stop it if it sells, you do it as of April 1st, that the assessing year, as every other exemption year.
Good point.
It doesn't say in here that you can, it just says you can do terms. And you can, up to 5 years, and if they come back in, you can give them more time.
Yeah.
So each application would be reviewed and negotiated.
There's a lot of language in
And-
here about it.
And should we have a footnote or something in there, or in some type, in the instructions? I hate to keep carrying this on,
Yes,
but it's kind of,
sorry.
we have some very,
repercussions to this.
I think the law itself is covering most of this.
Well, if we can't make a decision tonight, I would ask, can you all look at it one more time? Send me your questions so that I can research them, we can get an answer to them, and then we can move on at the next meeting, or else it's just,
well, I know that came up last.
I don't think
time.
these
You can
questions,
approve it.
we can approve it, and then you get these questions, because this is the application and the
Right.
part where we're approving, so
Right.
why, I mean, we're not, it's not gonna hinder the approval of the process that we're gonna go through.
And you can approve the first one if we want to be careful about it for just a year.
Yeah,
And, you know, but I think we'll
That's
have
my
the answers we
understanding.
need anyway before.
I like the changes, and I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second, Dari worked very hard on this.
Excellent,
so.
excellent application.
Stole a lot of stuff from other towns, so.
It's all right. You know
Take the credit,
knew
we
where
just
to
gave
go.
you the credit.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Never reinvent the wheel.
Rick Manson,
Okay, so we have a motion, and I believe we had a second from
you did.
Catherine,
Catherine?
Joe.
Or Joe?
One of us, for sure.
Is that the application packet? What is the application?
The complete packet
Thank
as presented
As amended.
and amended. Okay, any further discussion? The only other discussion is that when you do finally print it, you change it to like March or the date, so that we know that the one that you finally print is the
It's today's date.
The
is
right one?
the right one, not
header or footer, you ought to have an effective date. And then if we
All right.
ever amend it, we can put those dates.
I don't think that's,
So, it's,
Change
yeah,
it,
it's
just
February.
FYI.
Okay, that, because it's all in PDF and everything, they're all separate documents, that'll actually take like some time. Do you want this tonight, or can I email it to you all tomorrow?
Email,
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as it's approved, it's in the
you. Yeah, we've
minutes.
approved you, just.
okay, I mean, I don't mind.
okay, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, just a question or a comment. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, shoot an email to all of you with my understanding of the questions that you have, and then you'll respond back to me if I've missed anything, and then I'll research those so that I have answers for you. Okay.
Those answers, we're gonna get phone calls on this.
What's that?
We're gonna get phone calls, and then we need to answer
No,
our public.
that's.
Yep,
That's-
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
Comment from the peanut gallery?
Sure, always.
No, just.
not unless you have cashews.
No. when Darry talked about changing grantee and grantor, I noticed that section that you had there in red at the end, the indemnity clause, whatever, still had grantee and grantor. And for the purposes of consistency, you might want to go through and put in town and whatever.
He did.
In the copies that I
Handed
handed out to
it
the
is.
selectmen, here, Mr. Chuck, I'll give you one.
Mr. Chuck, all right.
Did I say Mr. Chuck? I'm
Yes.
That's good.
Got a new name
It's
now.
harder to say Chuck and then
And the guy who keeps filing complaints.
Say, are you the same Mitchell?
That was a good thing, Mr. Chuck. I like that, Mr. Chuck.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks, Darry.
moving right
Excellent.
along.
Have a good night.
I can see that.
Night, Dory.
Okay, next on the agenda.
Oh, wait. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Darry,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I want to bring up something that we brought up a couple of weeks ago with Darry and the plan and his,
He's here.
so,
Yeah. You still at the podium.
well, come up here and sit at the table.
Okay.
You don't
At
need
the
to be
table?
at the podium. So, I thought a lot about our decision on making a decision on the budget and the planning and things like that, and I really wanted you to take a good look at the what do you call it, your
Proposal?
proposal,
Yeah.
okay? And look at the hours and what they would entail for your administrator. And perhaps maybe if we had the next week or two to take and review that, if the board could take a look at that and review it. Job description is the word I was trying, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
The job description. When we had the information, we didn't really have all of the information intact, and then you gave us the job description to look at, because you had tweaked the job description after the fact of looking at your plan.
Mhm.
And the two of them really didn't match, so you didn't have, we had somewhat of an idea where you wanted to go, and then we didn't have the job descriptions to match it, and that's why I made my decision to say, you know what, I think we need to have both of them together
Mhm.
and look at the big picture and say this is what we want for this office. I'd like to look at them both together and have a solid footing on that so that we can justify it at town meeting.
Okay,
So we only have like a week to get that done.
okay. I'm happy to,
I personally, I don't know, I've not talked to the board because I've been away, but I personally would like to revisit that.
okay.
And I don't know what the rest of the board feels about that. I would just like to revisit, no guarantees, but I would like to revisit that. There are some hours that you're asking for, additional hours for the tech. I would also entertain the thought of using a couple of those hours downstairs where they're needed as well. So if we could utilize it that way as well, I would like to see that. But if we could,
Okay,
So this is, you have some information that we would use to amend
at town meeting.
at town meeting.
Not now, but at town meeting.
all right.
I mean, that's always
That's right.
Okay.
something that
option.
can
It
be
would
done.
be a full discussion of the proposal on the floor, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah,
You know, to be prepared for that. and-
Okay.
And to have the selectmen enlightened on it.
okay. I believe what happened is we had the flood the night that I was gonna come to
Right.
present, and then you met the following Tuesday, and then I came 2 days after that.
Right.
So there was information that was meant to get into your hands
It
before
was
you-
a disconnect,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I don't think that that was really fair to us making a decision and fair to you
Right.
making the
Okay.
presentation.
All right.
So I think I would personally, I thought it long and hard about it, I'd like to revisit that.
Okay, so I'll assemble the information and get it into the hands of all.
If you could, okay.
All right, all right.
So if you could produce some exculpatory evidence, we could reconsider
Okay,
our verdict
okay.
on the floor of
All right.
the town meeting.
All
I
right,
might even want to attend the meeting to defend it as well.
okay.
Okay.
Well,
If we're gonna,
but I'd
if we're
also
gonna
make
bring
sure
it up,
Jeannie has that information as well.
Yeah, okay.
you know what I mean? Because we're gonna need not just us, but other people to back that up.
And I would also suggest that as soon as you get it, send it to me and I'll send it to the selectmen so they can look at it before next Thursday's meeting.
Okay.
Right.
And when town meeting is 2 days after that?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, all right.
3, yeah.
Down to the crunch.
Good.
This is
when
it, buddy.
That's when the best stuff gets done, right?
There you go.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right, good. All right, thank you.
All right,
Welcome there.
thanks,
All right,
Doug.
thanks.
Mr. Chuck?
Look at us ahead of schedule.
I know. Yeah, we've got a... It's almost that time.
Again.
The weather doesn't show it, but
Oh, we know it's gonna snow.
calendar does.
I don't believe there are any blizzards
Yes.
planned for next year.
It's all right, we got it covered then.
That's true, we have had some pretty good blizzards during election days.
Manage.
We've had everything, blizzards.
Sleep.
Primarily, I'm interested in making sure that I have a list of all of the people on the select board who are planning on moving articles and who's going to be seconding articles. So I can have that in my notes and prepared. And I do realize that we have the possibility that on any one article that someone is going to jump up from the floor and try to move something before I call on someone else.
I put that draft together for the selectmen today, Chuck, and made a copy for you. They have not reviewed it yet, so they
Oh,
may
good, I'll
have
go right ahead
changes.
and make my notes on here
Okay.
then. How about on Article number 3? Do we have somebody in here that's gonna move to propose that?
Let's open that page.
Has to do with the purchase of the land?
Second page, yep, right there, that article.
Me.
I knew you were going to step up for that one. Everybody okay with that? I'm okay with it.
I am.
You got it.
All right,
It's all yours.
Who would like to second that?
I'll second it. Jerry Davis. Jerry Davis.
Jerry
He's
Davis or,
He'll
If
be
he's
working.
not there.
I would be happy to if Jerry's not in front.
Okay. Article number 4.
Me.
don't know, before you go explain.
Pat, it's
Come on, Pat.
the same thing. It goes one with the other.
Me,
Don't you
Me,
want me to do it?
yeah, no. That is a big, fat Tuesday no.
Second. Joe, you want to second that
I'm
again?
in. No, I'm not in. I'd rather somebody else did it. I'm still not.
Only for discussion, doesn't mean you support it.
The seconder doesn't discuss it. I'll second it if nobody else does.
I just assumed it was somebody else.
I'll do the second.
Okay,
I've got Joe's
Am I
name
doing
down,
that?
and then I'm going to add Catherine, and Joe, if
Right.
you want to jump in, go right ahead.
Okay,
one big happy family.
yeah.
indeed.
And
We're a family.
there's a possibility that, because this is on here, and even though the Article 3 says that if Article 3 does not pass, then there's no need to go to Article 4, but I will probably on Article 4, even if Article 3 does pass, end up, if it doesn't pass, I probably would ask for a motion to kill it, just to have that in the paperwork, which would be to postpone indefinitely, just so that no one can later say, well, you should have brought it up.
It's gonna pass, Chuck, that's nonsense what you're talking.
Well,
I'm glad
We'll
to
see.
see.
the whole
Positive
conversation
thinking.
about whether it's bonded or not may be a problem with the land. Some people aren't gonna want that impact if it's not bonded on their taxes.
We'll go to Article 5, see if the town will appropriate $15,000, excuse me, for the capital reserve fund.
Not me.
Highway capital reserve, should that be Peter?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Peter.
Anytime.
I like the way you step right up to that.
John's a second.
Try to let others do
I'll
these
second it,
highway
yeah.
ones.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Does that mean I have to hog Article 6?
And I'll
Oh,
second
let
that.
Joe do sidewalks.
I clean up.
Oh, I would covet the opportunity to
Give
put
it.
money into the sidewalks.
Okay,
We get Joe.
so Joe will move Article 6.
I'd like Article 8. I just want to make sure.
I'll second it.
Which one, 6?
I'm just jumping ahead.
I got Pat down
Yeah,
to
we gotta go
second
in order,
Article
John.
6.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure nobody gets ahead of me.
Okay, let's go to Article 7.
7. Oh, there's one for Catherine.
Reevaluation capital reserve.
Catherine, here's one. It's called no-brainer one.
No, that's a no-brainer.
Catherine?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll second.
Okay, and John wants number 8. Why?
Yeah,
Just,
I would like to do 8.
oh, I claimed it already.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
asking you to second.
Oh, in a heartbeat, John.
Okay, Joe and
John and Joe.
John and
GJ's.
Joe. Stepping right up there.
I think it's a good thing.
Now what? Article 9. Well,
No, I don't want to do that.
That's the budget committee anyway.
Well, you have to be prepared if one of them doesn't stand up. You don't want it to just hang in the air.
Oh, okay.
I'll just talk with Jane in advance. Somebody will step up.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, at the budget meeting last night, we discussed that, so she's
Hey,
going to
John,
check
you're
in.
So
on the
why
budget
don't I-
committee. Why doesn't John
So-
do it?
Yeah.
The
John,
budget,
you can do it. I'll put John or Jane, how's that?
yeah, I'll second it. John or Jane? She'll step up.
Pat, you said you would
Her
second.
picture's in the town book.
Next year, I'm gonna be
Do we have any other surprises?
just saying.
How much-
Time will tell.
No surprises?
None that are gonna be revealed at this time.
Done. No.
Well, if there are some surprises, you better have a moderator pro tem ready.
Why?
I don't think any of those surprises.
What do you mean?
I can disappear.
The mafia's involved right now.
Selectmen, who is, and what are your timeframes for attending the elections on Tuesday, the 6th, the 12th?
I can be there probably by 10. I have some inspections, I'll come right afterwards, and then I can stay
By
there.
10.
I'm looking forward to making the motion to open the meeting, so I'll be there early.
And we was talking about voting, Joe. Election day?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
That's
Joe,
town
is-
meeting.
Now, one of the things
Yes.
it's going to come up, and I might as well bring it right up now, and that is fine. You very well, as a selectman, can be there, and you can be inside the ropes, and you can be inside all the time if you want. The problem being is that you cannot talk to people inside the 200 feet outside the building. Inside, you can't talk to people in the hallway or the lobby. You can't talk to people before they vote. And the same goes for Catherine too. And if you guys, either of you two would have conversation with anyone, it should be probably after they deposit their ballots. And it's got to be done very quietly so your voice isn't heard otherwise, because we've had people in the past who have questioned a name of somebody on the ballot and the fact that they're there and whether or not somebody has touched a ballot or anything else. So I just want you to be aware that we don't need any claims of either of the two of you doing any electioneering
Well,
inside, that's all.
we spoke about this during the last time that I was at the election and I was on a ballot, and I think I did okay. I'm not electioneering at all.
Well, if you wish to, it would be best done out by the 200-foot limits on the outside, yeah.
So just for clarification, are we talking about town meeting day or election day?
No, just election right
Okay,
now.
so election.
Just election day right now at the gym. John, you gonna be able to come after
I'll be
work?
after work, so between 4:30 and 5, I'll arrive.
What about you, Joe? I was unclear.
I'd characteristically stay the whole day.
But you'll get there at 8?
I'll be there at like 7:30. I'll be there the day before, helping Mrs. Mitchell with the ropes and what have you.
Okay, so you're there the whole day.
I love election.
Peter?
4:30-ish.
4:30-ish,
So you all staying to the end of the election to
Yes.
sign the box? Okay.
yes.
Do I have to?
Yes.
Do we need to appoint somebody in our stead or no?
Well, right now, we don't have anyone who is going to probably be there at the beginning of the day, and if there's anything, I would probably need to
Joe.
still have manned, and I think Joe could do that. You could sit at the table where the no IDs are, and just pass out the forms, just so long as you're not,
No?
No,
no, actually, you shouldn't,
no.
because you would be talking to people before they voted.
Yeah,
theoretically.
yeah.
Yes, can't do that then. You got somebody you think you can
Also
appoint, but-
can't assist anybody with their ballots. That's
True. That
for sure.
Question.
We're pretty useless.
I cannot, if I were to, if I was required to appoint somebody, Jane or Sandy both said that they could take turns, so either one
Why
of
don't you
them.
speak to them, and then I will, you can deal with them in the morning.
Okay, I'll have them contact you.
I'd like to have somebody at the table over there, rather than just having a pile of papers to fill in.
You got me.
I got you, babe, is that it? Okay. Let me see, I don't know. We are gonna be doing I think a potluck on election day again. I don't want to put it out to everyone, because one of the things we don't need 7 crock pots full of food. So if there's anyone here that thinks that they can bring something, please let me know,
I'm a cooker guy.
okay? You want to bring something hot?
Yeah.
Why don't you email me when you got an idea what it is you want to do, so we don't end up with 3 pots of chili.
Well, I was going to make Polish beans. That's what jumped into my head.
That works for me. Anyone else? Okay. I did have a conversation today with, a couple of conversations with.
Gail might be
Gail,
volunteering
Gail.
for something.
Gail raised her hand. She has a
Gail has a
question.
question.
About the coffee or the Keurig or whatever you like for refreshments in the morning. I know last year we didn't have very good luck with that.
I'm going to talk to my assistant moderator, because twice burned of having the coffee place down here say they would, and then when she went in, Helen went in to pick it up, they said, we don't know what you're talking about, so I don't think we're going to try to do that again. We will have the customary, I'm assuming, Keurig over there, and I'll make sure that we have sufficient amount of the K-cups available, and I'll have the coffee, I mean the creamer and the sugars and whatever, and I think what we'll do is we'll talk to somebody, maybe picking up, in the past I've tried to avoid all the really sweet, high-calorie things, but I'll end up bringing like a Boston coffee cake, and then maybe we'll have a few other things. Maybe, and I will pick up some fruit, cut up fruit, or I'll bring cut up fruit. And I think beside that, I don't think we need to go out and get extra coffee.
So just for clarification, the last election, I brought in my Keurig. Is that what you'd like to use that Keurig again?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yep.
We usually bring that over on Monday afternoon, so we can get it set up. And by the way, we'll have 2 high chairs this year.
Nice.
We have.
Yes.
What time on Monday?
I believe Gail sent me a memo today early, it said 2:30. That's interesting that they said 2:30, because that's usually when the buses are going through.
That is, so
So
you,
my suggestion is, if you're going to plan to be there to help set up at 2:30, that you try to get a place to park away
Before
from.
2:10.
Away from the gym, and then get inside
you're
the
out to
building.
wait till 2:40 when the buses are gone and cleared out.
So we'll have to coordinate when the Public Works brings over,
Well,
The
I'm
equipment.
assuming you talked to the people at the high school today, and so they'll have the gym floor covered by 2:30? Okay, and then usually what they've done in previous years is Public Works is during the day, has brought the materials over and put them in the lobby before school gets out. So everything is.
and then come back and set it up.
Then they come back at 2:30 to help set it up.
All right, will you make sure that they know that's the game plan? Thank you.
And I think the same floor plan we had from the last time.
Oh, that was great.
Worked very nicely, so, have you had a chance to approve Kelly Sedgley yet?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, what we found is that we had some issues with, Kelly has offered and volunteered to work as a ballot clerk that day, so I need to have you guys appoint her as inspector of the election, and then I'll put her to use.
I would make,
Second.
So we have a motion second to approve Kelly Sedgley as the clerk,
Inspector of the election.
inspector of the elections. Further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So
Thank you.
moved, unanimous. Chuck, last year, when I got out of work, I swung by to see if you guys still need a hand, and you guys were all done. So this year, if you're running late and it's around 4 and you need a hand, anybody feel free to call me and I can swing down. Just in case things get behind with the setup. That's a
On
setup
Monday.
that-
Not a problem.
Monday, yeah.
I don't anticipate if we're gonna start at 2:30.
we got it down pretty
Joe's gonna
good.
be there,
Yes.
Kathy, you'll be there.
I was amazed.
Mrs. Mitchell would be
I was
there.
amazed. I
He
got
sets
there and
those
it was
things
like,
up and he doesn't even need
whoa.
mine.
Yeah. I think most of the people
Oh,
who've
man.
done it now, and with people there, it's gone very quickly. Let me see. I think that is about it. I did hear from Scott Davis a couple of times. I don't know what he's going to do. He wasn't sure, 100% sure he was going to even be at town meeting when it comes in reference to Article 3, warrant Article 3, but whatever.
Did you want to have a discussion with the selectmen about that?
Well, I could just make, I had met yesterday for a brief time with Tim and Jeannie, and a concern that I had is if the article is amended, then, of course, that becomes the main motion. And if for some reason seems to be more concern about the tax burden for 1 year, and Article 3 should somehow or other fail, that would be Article 3 simply failing. You don't have a recourse to go back to the original Article 3. Once it's amended and that becomes the main motion, that's what you get. So if, in hindsight, in a perfect world, you might have had Article 5, which would have been to finance it in 1 year, then withdrew Article 5 if 3 failed. But that's not the way it's going to go. So once it's amended, if it's amended, that's the article, and that's what's going to stand.
Well, that's up to us then to explain it, that if you go to the amendment, it's all or nothing. And
Absolutely
if you
needs
don't
to be.
want that, you need to vote no for the amendment.
The
That is
only
correct.
alternative would be another town meeting.
No.
Now, another town meeting could only happen in the event that someone were to suggest a reconsideration vote, and again, someone voting on the prevailing side, and I will ask. And the question then being, there's also equally the chance that someone who could get called on would be asking to protect their vote, in which case that would become a moot point and it would die. So you just think those things through. You got a week to make some decisions about who's going to speak to it, how you guys really want it. But I thought through some of these things, and I just have a concern. I think a lot of people had kind of come to the conclusion, they thought that the purchase of the land would be pretty much a foregone conclusion, and that it would go through either way and a better chance one way or the other. But after listening to some of the impacts on taxes, where it would impact some people from $100 to $300 in their taxes for 1 year, some people may say, I don't want to pay that next year. I'd rather spread it out over 5 years. So there's two sides of it, and I just don't want, I hate to see you get boxed in and then see it fail. That's all.
Does he understand that?
Jeannie?
Yes, so Chuck obviously knows what he's talking about. I researched a little bit more just to find out if there was anything else that might happen. I was advised by NHMA, and I'm sure you probably know this, that there could be a motion made to overrule the moderator, and then they could bring back the original warrant article and vote on it. So that is an option.
Overruling the moderator if I ruled what?
Article
Well,
3 failed.
if, let's say if...
No, I would, no, if it fails, I'm gonna make sure it's gonna be a paper ballot. Even if it's not a bond issue, I'm gonna require it, because that's part of the moderator's rules. And I will make sure it's a paper ballot, so if it fails, it fails. Now, the only question could be is whether or not someone stands up and moves to protect their vote or to whatever. Then at that point, that would be the motion on the floor, and if that passes, it passes it, and I would even do a standing vote and a count. And at that point, if that's the majority, I don't think that it would be possible that, I don't want to put myself in a position where the body could then overrule a decision on a vote. Not if we've got numbers, and I would make sure to get numbers. I'll call for a standing vote if it comes to either reconsideration or protecting the vote.
Jeannie, is that what you were referring to, or is there
Well,
other
so
information?
let's take it through the kind of the steps. So they make an amendment to the original warrant article, and that amendment fails. And they say there's nowhere to go now. The amendment fails, the warrant article's dead. So
No.
We vote on the original article
They
if it
wrote on the
fails.
original.
The amendment
So
fails.
once an amendment is made, the
Right.
amendment has to be voted on. The original article stands on its own. Only if the amendment passes
Right,
does
if the-
that become the
Right,
main
if the,
motion.
I'm sorry, if the amendment passes, that becomes the article then,
That is
the
correct.
warrant article.
Right.
And then, so let's say the amendment passes, that becomes the warrant article.
Right.
And then they vote on that, and that fails, right?
If they
Yes.
failed, it will be done by a paper ballot, so we
Right.
have numbers.
And what I was told by NHMA, if it fails, there is an opportunity, so somebody could come forward, let's say it fails, and you say the warrant Article 3 fails, and somebody steps up to the mic and says, well, I'd like to vote on the original warrant article, and you say, no, you can't do that. You could be overruled, and they could say, there could be a vote, I want to overrule the moderator, they could take a vote. If that passes, then they could bring the original article back and vote on that. Now, I don't think you want to go through that, but that is something that could happen.
Yeah, except that I would also think that if the majority of the people there voted down the amendment or voted down the article, however you do that, that if it were to go to a vote of the body to sustain the moderator versus overruling the moderator, I would believe that they would
Sustain.
vote and sustain it in the same way that the article was. I understand what you were asking a technical question, and I realize that. There's a lot of things that could happen, which is one of the reasons why it wouldn't be a bad idea to have legal counsel there at all future meetings.
But I think to
Be
Chuck's point,
prepared to that.
which is a very good one, I think as a board you need to, which is why I put in your information the points to consider, that you talk about those points, that you stress that so that there is no appetite for an amendment, because then you're in a whole another area you don't want to be. If that's the intent of this board to want to purchase that land. I don't think you want to be over there in amendment land, right?
I think the majority is going to speak. And if the majority wants to buy the land without a bond, then the majority will vote that way, and then the majority will vote to buy the land without a
Similar.
bond.
Isn't that a 2/3 vote for the article?
Bond.
And
2/3 for the bond.
Majority.
it's the
Simple majority.
majority for the
Simple
amendment.
majority. If
So you
that's-
could have it close.
Yeah,
So if it's a real close one on the amendment and it wins, you could actually lose very easily lose the whole article at the end.
Which is why Tim provided in the documentation there all the information on the tax rate, so you can explain that to the body, the tax impact if you do it in 1 year versus if you do it with a 5-year bond, right?
Now, in talking to Kevin, he wanted to do a slide presentation, and I said on Article 3, well, you should only be getting, at that point, only discuss the selection of this particular lot, and not necessarily, don't try to get into the whole other part of what Article 4 would be about. And so he originally wanted a 30 to 45-minute slide presentation. Yeah.
Sorry,
You want to know how to kill a meeting.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Especially
So
when
I
they
told
read it
him that
verbatim.
the makers of the motion typically will get 5 minutes. I'll be a little liberal and make sure that if he wants to give a slide presentation, to try to keep it to 5 minutes if he can. And then if there are going to be folks from the select board or the budget committee or whomever that want to speak, I will try to make sure that they get properly put into the. Question is, right now, is whether or not I would allow, and I probably would allow, if the select board chooses, since you guys both have, the select board and the budget committee did, I believe are in favor of this, would allow a period of time in addition to the slideshow for people to make a statement for or against, or whatever you want to do. So I would allow the slide. Without objection, I will allow the slide presentation and then the typical 5 minutes for discussion by the select board. And Jeannie had a great idea yesterday. I'm going to try to work on it. I knew if I was using my iPad, I could do it, but I'm not sure. I'm going to try to get a little countdown clock timer that when we're showing it up on the screen, that will actually show how much time they have.
Interesting.
So I would put Helen out of a job from waving.
Have you discussed this with Helen?
Not yet.
I don't think she'll.
Kathy cannot do the projector because she has other responsibilities, and so Sandra Steadfast Marshall is going to be running the projector this year, and she'll be there part-time as a ballot clerk. So,
Are you still planning on fitting the sewer commissioner's engineer in during the ballot vote?
yeah, I will, and I would probably, if Article 3 is amended, and we don't need to keep it open for an hour, then I would move on to Article 4, and then when that is open for the hour, put them in there. And hopefully that'll be brief.
9-ish? 8:30? We should have them there.
Yeah, 8:30.
8:30?
8:30, 8:45 probably.
And how long should we tell him he can speak?
How long do you think he's going to need?
What's this regarding?
The West Main Street project update.
There was a request to do a short slide presentation.
Oh, I don't think he's going to do slides. I think he's just going to, well, I don't know. How long do you think you'd need? 10, 15, 20 minutes?
That's long.
10?
Say 10 to 15.
Cut it down to 7.5.
Cut it down as much as you can. I think at that point in time, most people are going to want to move along, and I hate to just tuck it in at the end of the day if it's really important.
Well, it's gonna regard a future bond, so it's like we're trying to give them a heads up. And we don't wanna go forward if they're against the project, so that's why we're trying to have the discussion now.
Instead of a public hearing.
Why,
Well, a lot of people have asked about it.
why would it be part of the town meeting?
Because when we bond it, it has to be bonded through the town.
It will be on next year's bond, next year's warrant.
So we just wanna let the people who come to town meeting know ahead of time, next year we're planning this, if we get your blessing, basically, we're trying to get some
Well,
feedback.
the other option is, do you have a handout?
They can put one together.
If they put one together, we could put it on the table and try to make your presentation really concise, because that's fine.
And
At
then
town-
give the handout.
At town meeting, handouts
Back
can
it
be
up.
made available and put it right up on a table in the back, yeah.
And that's a great option.
You could even put it out in the lobby for people to pick up. or they could be passed out along with the town reports. I guess, I'm done.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you Monday, Chuck.
Monday at 2:30.
Okay. Do you have a few, was there anything else regarding the voting rate that we need to discuss? A few minutes here.
Well, it was in my report, I just prepared this packet for all of you to take a look at. And put down points to consider, yeah. So if you have any changes, let me know, I'll go ahead and fill the names in. But the public hearing starts at 6.
Okay.
And we got plenty of room just to add.
Yes, and that's why I did that.
This is awesome.
Thank you. So on the scenario if land paid for in 2019, no borrowing, can you add, you just said you just did Article 3, can you add Article 4, or was the purpose just for Article 3?
What's that?
On the bottom, the last page.
Tim? So,
So up at the top, you added Article 3 and 4, and then did a cross-reference to what it would be in taxes in 2019, the impact, and then you did the scenario if the land was paid for in 2019. I'm just asking if you could bring the Article 4 along with that calculation and say, change from 2018 town tax rate with the Article 3 land purchase and Article 4.
I'm
You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I don't.
Well, you've got it up above, it's gonna, if you do it in
Yeah.
1 year, it's
Okay, so you're on
59
the
and
back
then, I mean,
page.
69 and 52.
Okay, you're on the back page. I was.
Last
okay.
page.
Yes, so
See,
now
on the-
that I'm on the right page.
All right, so see down in the bottom?
Yep,
So up at the top, you have Article 3 and you have Article 4, and then you have the impact to the tax rate on each of them separately.
Yeah.
And then down below, you brought in Article 3. If there's no borrowing on Article 3, if that article gets amended, what would the whole picture look like? So the whole picture, Article 3, and I would like to bring in Article 4, this is what the whole picture would look like.
But isn't the
Article 3
thing,
and 4. Okay.
but wasn't the issue Scott Davis was looking at land only?
Well, yes, but the whole picture is, if there's no borrowing, this is what it would look like, and then if you add
It's right.
Article 4,
Well, it's right up top, though, it's 350, if you look down bottom, you got the 350. Up
They're
top
not
is the 350, then you got 267. It's all on the sheet, though.
is this just for our use?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, no one else is seeing it. It's just
Got it.
you. Yeah.
The figures, what I'm saying is, if you add it, you see the change from the 2018 tax rate is 74 cents. If you look up here, he has 69 cents. So it is going to change a little bit if you add Article 3 and Article 4. Do you see what I'm saying?
Article 4 adds 52 cents to the 74.
No, then why is 69 when there's
Because-
74 down here?
Because we went up like 0.05% or something. The budget went up from last year, so that's the few pennies, because it was minimal amount.
So that also, the 267,000 would also change because we went up 500% or whatever. Right?
I'll ask Tim to do the calculation to add in 4.
You can, it's gonna be an additional 52 cents to that 74.
Yeah.
Just for my own personal knowledge.
Yep.
If you
That's
just
fine.
want to send me an email and
Yep.
let me know what it is, I'm good.
You can put it on that for the meeting, that's fine.
But this is excellent. I like the way that you've put this out.
Thank you.
especially with what the reserve funds have in it, because that's a number one question that people are asking, and we've got it right here. Usually we go in with the folder. Catherine and I sometimes have wheeled information going in,
Oh,
and now you have
did bring my binders.
this all lined up into pertinent information for each article. Kudos.
So, since I'm almost all the way through my report, why don't I finish it?
Okay, go ahead.
So, you saw the action items, which had to do with RSA 7090, and we're done with that.
Are we ever going to find out who? Or is that going to remain?
Who?
Well, it says we have received a request for an application.
I'm sorry, I assumed you knew Alan Powell. Okay.
I had assumed, but no one had said, that's why.
Yeah,
For the same building?
for what? I think,
But-
yes. I haven't seen, he's just told me he was interested. He
Oh,
didn't tell
got
me
it,
what.
all right, okay,
So I don't know.
got it.
So, and we've covered Kelly Sedgley as the Inspector of Elections, and you've looked at the notes for the deliberative session. I'll go ahead and plug in the names of who's gonna bring the motion forward and second it, and I'll send out an update to you. And I sent you information on the Vermont Law School Energy Clinic. They had it in their head that they were coming tonight, and I explained to them that it was a very full night, they're looking for a letter of support, and again, I said to them, I think it's a lot of information to expect that the selectmen would offer a letter of support, even if they did come. I think it's information you need to digest, plus I've called Lauren to ask her to give feedback on the impact of something like this to the town, so she's working on that, and she'll bring that back. They did follow up with me, the Vermont Law School, and ask if they could get on the agenda to speak with you. So if that's something you're interested in, we're probably looking at, because you've got a public hearing next week, so you're probably looking at the end of the month or April. There, next, the 14th is, the 14th is, I'm sorry, there's no public hearing, but you have Annette Sarno and the bids opening next week. So is there any interest in meeting with these folks from Vermont?
Mm-mm.
Are they gonna provide us any more information than we already have
I think,
by meeting with us?
I would say no.
Just trying to sell it.
So they're
Right.
just looking for an answer at this point, so I have the benefit of the planning board conceptual with them. If they're not gonna provide us any more information to make the decision, why would we meet with them?
Right. I
Just
agree.
me.
Because
So I will,
it's not going to be a sales thing that's going to do it. We have to look at all the information and digest it. And then if we have any questions, we could come back to them.
I mean, on the surface, it seems like a very beneficial project for both of those trailer parks.
Well, all you're doing is creating a couple of winners, and then other people pick up for it.
So I think Lauren's probably gonna have more information.
I would think you'd want to hear from Lauren before you did anything else.
Well, it's like New Hampshire Solar Gardens, or whoever that group is makes money, the property owner makes money. They give us a quarter or less of what the benefit they get, and they keep the lion's share of the benefit.
But this isn't, the way this was described at the conceptual at planning board, this is going to directly benefit the residents of the trailer park. It's not a company coming in to make money on solar.
Okay, so do we want to schedule a time? Because I think this is going to be a,
No,
like.
I would talk to
for
Lauren
our- For us to
first.
discuss it.
have him talk to Lauren first.
Talk to Lauren first.
And I think we need to.
Have Jeannie talk to Lauren first, and
I think we need to set aside some time for us to get into it and review the stuff and discuss it amongst ourselves.
Is Lauren scheduled to come in to see us again? soon?
She's gonna be in on the 21st. That's when you're gonna have the public hearing on the revaluation process. So I expect she'll have some information for you by then, because what she responded back to me today was that she was working on it and would have something shortly. So I would expect by the 21st you'll be able to have a conversation with
Okay,
her.
that
How many
sounds good.
questions could be asked then,
Right.
especially if we had the information before?
Right.
Okay.
And you're gonna get information anyway on it, right? They're sending, okay.
Right.
Sounds good.
And just a reminder that Lauren and I are going to be also on the 21st, we're going to be touring the Tilton School because their agreement's up, something you brought up a while back, Pat. It's the 21st at 10 o'clock, if anyone wants to go along. We'll be doing that.
March 21st?
March 21st at 10, excuse me, it's at 11, it's at 8:30 now. 8:30.
Oh,
What day of the week is that?
Thursday.
Thursday, the day she comes
I
in.
could have done it at 10.
And I think somebody asked about the tree of heaven, and the Conservation Commission did weigh in. You'll see there was one tree. They agreed to let them treat the one tree, but they're waiting for a response back as to who's responsible for removing the dead tree once it's dead. So,
What is that?
the tree of heaven,
Invasive species.
the invasive species.
Okay.
Okay. And that's,
I think if they're gonna treat it for free, we should have them do it, because it's our decision, and Public Works can remove it.
Yeah, but what do you do with it?
Should it be disposed
That's what we
in a
need to find
specific
out, is
way?
what do you do with it? Do you burn it? Do you, can you chip it?
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
seemed like that would be a bad thing, making it into thousands of them
Little trees.
instead of one. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if you have any questions for me. Okay. That's all I got.
So, your number 4 bullet,
Yep, yes. So, everything is moving along. We should have a PNS by the end of this week.
The bishop hasn't approved the sale of the property.
What's that?
The bishop hasn't approved the sale of the property.
He hasn't?
Well, he had provided a recommendation to the bishop for consent to sell the property.
Right, it's just,
formality.
Procedure.
Okay,
I think they approved, they just
I
hadn't
thought
signed
they
it.
did. That's why I was.
Yeah.
The bishop said, "Yeah,
There's a
okay."
lot of councils
yes.
and committees and things that they step more so than we've ever seen in municipalities that they have to go through.
And when we met with Rob, what he explained is that pretty much at a local level, once they're on board, it's just a formality through
Yeah.
the process.
But everything was all accepted language, everything.
Right.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Was there anything back on the downtown snow removal from Kevin?
Yes, he's coming in on the 14th. He's coming in next week, and he'll have a proposed plan for sidewalk snow removal, as well as that will be when the bids will be open for the project work on the sidewalks. And as I mentioned to you last week, that's an opportunity for you to think about if you want to put more money into the capital reserve fund, depending on what it shows, and that also has to do with the Academy Street. So I'll just give you a little update on that. I reached out to someone who builds rock walls, who Kevin happens to know, and he's going to meet with Kevin and have a conversation about, and you probably know this, being in that business, the proposed use from the other firm about using the block, that over years of salt
Yeah.
will,
that's ours.
so it's really better to stay, and it'll actually be less expensive for you to stay with what you have, which is real rock, right?
Well, I
And
thought you were talking about steel.
Repitch it.
Salt does not eat concrete, so let's make sure we understand that.
What does?
Salt does not destroy concrete. Salt destroys the metal in the concrete, but it won't eat away the blocks or the concrete.
So in any event, I've got trying to schedule that meeting with Kevin and this other gentleman to see if they can use existing materials, repitch, use more stone rather than, I mean, in the proposal that the other firm had, it was like 200 feet if you looked at it. So I don't know why it was 200 feet, but in any event, the point is.
In the proposal, it was 200
The
feet.
point is, yes, and the
Right.
point is I'm trying to find a less expensive, as long as it is
Proper.
proper.
Right.
Do you
So,
figure this rock wall lasts how many?
Oh,
Well, it's,
eons.
150?
yeah, it appears,
150 maybe?
Before we were kids.
yeah, it appears to me that the problem is that the stuff washes out in between the rocks the way that they're presently formed, and that if they were reset in a proper manner, that they didn't wash out and backfill properly, that we wouldn't have that
and if you
problem,
put that,
as
if
opposed to
you,
going to a man-made material that we last
To
as long as
control
any
the
man-made.
drainage.
yeah, and part of that too is putting the fabric filter.
You have to control the drainage.
So I hate to cut this short, but I think it's 6 o'clock and it's time for your public
It
hearing.
is. Okay, being the time of 6 o'clock, I would like to announce the public hearing on the Housing Standards Board that was scheduled for tonight, Thursday, March 7th. Begin for 1 hour anyway. So anybody that is here that wishes to speak on the Housing Standards Board, at any time when you're ready, raise your hand and we'll recognize you. Okay, we're going to,
It's like crickets out there.
we're going to wait a little while before we recognize all of the people here. There's nobody here, by the way. Well, except for
We have a couple of members of the community out there.
members of the community and visitors that we have here. So, nobody here on the
Wait a minute.
I think you're-
housing standards in the audience.
Gas cards, I always like to look at those.
Okay. Now,
Does everyone have a copy of the housing standards ordinance from last week?
No,
No?
from last week?
Yeah.
No.
It was not from last week, it was it's from a while ago.
The last one that was out there, I got.
Have it anywhere, Pat?
it's on my,
No. Maybe not. I might have taken it home. I might have taken it home. Study on my vacation. Did we get it before I went away?
Yes.
I thought I had one, my,
Do you have one, John?
I thought I had it in my mail or something, or in my drive.
No, I did not have one. Did not take one home.
I apologize, Gail. I think this might be the second time you've made a copy of this for me. Don't take a look at it here. I took it this way.
Bring it up this weekend, don't we?
I think it's next to my pillow.
Oh, well, there you go. That'll put you to sleep. Well, I have one right here. We could, oh, there you go. John's got it.
I do have, yes, thanks, Skip. I still apologize. I'll take that back.
I have it.
Should be okay now.
I studied it on vacation.
I saw you flying on vacation.
I was.
Flying.
I was. It was bucket list. I did.
She was on one of
I
those
saw that. I
giant
know, I was
vans.
watching.
Her and Kim.
It was worth every moment. So,
Yeah, me too.
simulated skydiving. We, in this public hearing, we are paying particular attention to the fees and changing of the fines. Or are we doing the entire changes?
I thought we agreed to take overcrowding out of it for now.
Okay. Which would be, okay, got it.
What is that? Where's that?
That's on the...
Page three.
Page
third
three.
page, if you will.
Okay, so that comes out?
Yeah.
So at the top of the second page is the, attaching the certificate of occupancy to it. You know, some of our buildings don't have them because they're just so old. So it seemed like an opportunity to get those straightened out. And then there's the sampling of the water in the private wells for rental properties. Changing the fines from 50 to 75, hoping they'll have some kind of an effect. And then you'll see at the bottom of the third page, being able to suspend that certificate of occupancy and the reasons.
What is it? What would be construed as a imminent threat to health or and safety?
No heat? No water? No electricity?
Any type of sewer or sewage issue.
Yeah, sewer for sure.
I found leaking sewage pipes in basements on these inspections. Toilets that don't work and that type of thing.
There's nothing in place right now to,
Not that's uniform, so for sewage and septic issues, that's a different RSA 147 with a whole different, regulation to it, a whole different type of notifying and the housing standards, hot water and heat. They're all a little different, but so this brings it all together, and you see the reference on that under 4147, which is why, and it brings it all together with that certificate of occupancy. And then you'll see the penalty clause on the back of the last page that for any reason, any part of this, I mean, it doesn't sound nice, but I have 3 property owners that are completely ignoring everything, as though we don't exist. And 2 of them have signed their certificates, so I don't understand.
There has to be a base minimum. Dignity requires a functioning toilet, I would think.
Jason or Eric, since you're the only people here, do you want to see what we're talking about? Do you want a copy of that?
Absolutely. I think it's been a couple of town meetings since we were going to go through some.
Yeah, so I can give you a copy of mine.
Yeah,
The
there's
part
one.
called overcrowding's been redacted. So the green part, this one with colors, is the
Yes.
part that we're changing.
That's the one with colors. You can have that copy. Sure.
We've been through it a couple times over a couple meetings, and
Yeah.
so this is the public hearing for it.
Over a
Since you're
couple
the
of
only
years.
Public that.
So-
are-
So what if you have a landlord that isn't interested in this, and a tenant that doesn't want to be inspected either, and they have a mutual understanding between tenant and landlord, and they don't, either one of them feels that the town should have any part of this?
Catherine?
Basically,
All right,
This
so,
seems like a rights infringement type of thing, tenant and landlord relationship, and now just making a third party to the contract of landlord-tenant leasing.
the housing ordinance is already in effect, that was voted last year.
Right.
The change to that is a fee, an increase. The change to that is only that, what's in green, which is the fee. The landlord, what's voted in is the housing ordinance. They must abide by that now anyway.
What if they weren't before then?
How would we know?
That's why we have the housing
If the
ordinance.
tenant calls up, then we have actionable stuff to go and, but if nobody calls, how would we know?
so
You say you've got an arrangement? How would we know about that arrangement?
Well,
the housing
I think-
standard
hang on a second.
ordinance,
Catherine is the person who would normally be in charge of inspecting and going after this, so when we...
one of three.
One of the three.
The housing standard ordinance requires every rental unit in the town of Tilton to be inspected once every 3 years. So that was passed at town meeting.
right. So how
So,
do you know what is a rental and what isn't? You don't have that inventory.
yes, we do.
What if there's unreported or?
Well, there will be some
Yeah.
that slip by. Those would typically be single-family homes. Our assessing files
Right.
single out, well, that actually show dwelling units. So if there's a rental property that has 2,
Gotcha.
it shows there's
Picks up
3 or
the
4.
tax card as a pickup.
The tax card picks them up, which is very nice.
Which is also an RSA that, not an RSA, but there's also on the tax, when they come in to the town clerk tax collectors, there's something that requires them to identify themselves as a landlord affidavit.
There's a state law that requires all persons who own or purchase rental properties, and the state has a couple of exceptions. Our ordinance is more stringent. It's all rental properties, so those exceptions don't apply in Tilton. But the state law requires them to register and file an affidavit with the town.
Paperwork. Thanks.
It's not on the dotted line.
I don't want the liability.
That one's... I see the pile. You're the,
It was the
Electric.
whole, I was the whole.
you were you?
this time.
And you just sent the tsunami over to Peter?
Uh-huh.
I hate to see it coming.
So everything was okay other than taking out the overcrowding.
We're gonna leave the overcrowding out today, for now, and figure out a different way.
We'll vote on that, I think, after the public hearing later on. Just we'll grab it open for an hour, but I think as it is, I'd just like to get a feel for it. We need more discussion. Is there like a consensus, everybody pretty much, as well as let the audience know? I don't see a problem with it myself.
Okay, so just so I understand, this housing standards ordinance, you've looked at everything, and the only thing coming out is the overcrowding, and you're gonna vote on that at the end of the hour?
At the end of the hour.
Okay.
Pat, did you have any more discussion on that? I'm just curious. Anything else that needs to be rehashed?
No, I just wanted to clarify that we were not doing the overcrowding because I had other discussions on that.
We'll work that out as we go. It isn't the most serious issue.
And I vaguely remember us saying we were gonna change the 8 by 10 or whatever sizes.
Um, So, do you want to do reports or selectmen's reports?
There's no other information on that? Good. Doing good.
Yep.
Just go into some selectmen's reports and get that part done. And I think we've, after that. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome,
So
John.
who would like to do their selectmen's report first? So everybody jump in once. Catherine, you're so quiet. Pat hasn't been here for a while. Would you like to do yours first?
I just have one.
We're gonna let Pat go.
That's fine.
Bob Hoey called me in response to, did you talk with him, Jeannie? It was you or Gail? He had a couple of questions last night. He went up to the senior center to try to get some answers for the select board. He didn't quite understand a couple of things, judging from the answers that he was giving me. And so I explained what we wanted him to take a look at in the basement. And he, it's going to go back up in a couple of days. Couldn't go back up this week, but in a couple of days he'll go back up and take a look at downstairs and render an opinion whether or not it the issue, whether it should be or shouldn't be taken the plumbing from interior, or it should just be insulated or vaporized or whatever. What his opinion was, and he said, judging from what he saw, just as a matter of fact, he's going to look a little bit further, but judging just from what he saw was a spray foam insulation, but he's going to look, don't hold him to it, he's going to look a little bit further into it. However, he's going to give us an estimate on actually moving the plumbing into it. He has a plumber that he works with extensively, and that estimate will come in a couple, but the work itself won't be done until the spring because that plumber is really busy. I said that wouldn't be an issue, we're just looking at estimates at this point. So that's it. He's going to get back to us in maybe a week or so.
Nice. Yeah, I took a look over there and I noticed the hand washing sink is exposed plumbing already inside.
And in the dishwasher, the 3-bay sink is exposed.
Is exposed.
It's all exposed.
Yeah.
everything is exposed except what's going from the large pipe underneath. So it really is all exposed.
It would be nice to have,
Well,
and the
that's-
bathrooms, I think they could go straight through into the bathrooms and down underneath.
Now, that said, last couple of nights, it's got down well into the minus degrees. Have we had any problems at
They've left a small drip, and Emily's been going over there almost daily and on the weekends to make sure that it's not.
I get it, yep.
And then she's reported to the executive committee to say, you know, it's everything's safe, everything's going. And she's run the water for a little bit and then left and gone home, bless her. That woman is amazing.
It'd be so nice to have everybody sleep at home not thinking on their mind, are the pipes gonna freeze?
Absolutely.
All of us,
Yeah, well,
all
we
of
all.
us here have gone through that.
Right, and
My pipes are gonna freeze tonight. What do I do?
Cindy did say, send a note, and I sent it to Gail, just to ask Kevin to look at it. We've never had this issue since we've taken over the building. You know the lights way up at the top? There's a couple of those bulbs that are out. I'm assuming they're incandescent bulbs. I'm not particularly so I've asked, he went up
It's been done.
and he replaced the bulbs,
Place the bulbs,
incandescent,
regular fluorescence.
oh, fluorescents, okay. So at some point in time, I'm gonna look into the possibility of us, the senior center, replacing them with LEDs at some point. But that's a pretty tall ceiling. We've never had that happen since next year will be 10 years we'll be there.
Oh, wow.
Imagine.
Really?
10 years for the senior center. Woohoo!
We have a birthday party.
We are going to
Excellent.
celebrate all year. We're going to
Excellent.
celebrate. Okay, that's
Excellent.
it. Thanks.
And, Peter, do you have anything?
Yep. Jeannie, can we make a note for highway? We're paying an invoice to J.P. Carter for 19 LED bulbs at Riverfront Park for $1,215.
I missed what you said.
Okay.
We're paying an invoice to J.P. Carter.
Yep, for 19 LED bulbs at Riverfront. They're under warranty, so that we need to ship the bulbs back, and then we will get recredited. If we don't do that, we're out $1,215 because they're under warranty.
Okay.
We're finally gonna get light in the park?
So
Maybe.
we're gonna ship those back because they're under warranty.
Correct. We're
Okay.
paying to get the new ones in, I guess, and then once we replace them out, ship the old back, they will credit us, or, yeah.
Right,
Hope they didn't.
okay.
And then the second item, I don't know how long ago we purchased a VMB, variable message board. About the only place I've seen it is for the island concerts and Christmas parade. We've had all sorts of public meetings recently. We've got elections coming. The board is parked probably at Highway. I don't know why we're not utilizing it more.
For voting particularly,
Yeah.
coming up.
Well, any public, we have had a bunch of public hearings. We should have done it for those too.
I've seen it oftentimes down in front of Wendy's. Snow's coming.
That's the state. That's the state's.
That's
Oh,
the
that's a
state.
state
That's
one.
not ours. Yeah.
Never mind then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But especially if it's not in use, we could put it up somewhere, and so that was it, John.
Okay.
Joe?
I have something, yes. I am the liaison, selectman on the board of the First Impressions Committee. And the committee has had, first of all, I should say that First Impressions was the name first given to the committee because that was the name of the program from the UNH Cooperative Extension that got us up and running. They've been sending a representative and helping us with laying out our structural organization and so forth. But at this point, there was a feeling that we should come up with a name that indicates Tilton. A number of different names were tossed around, and it was motioned and voted on, in the affirmative to change the name of the committee to the Main Street Committee. And regardless of what the committee is calling themselves, it's a selectmen's committee, and so we set it up as first impressions, and we would set it up as anything else that came up. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to rename the First Impressions Committee here in Tilton to the Main Street Committee.
Second.
I would like to say that changing it to Main Street kind of means that, you know, our focus is on Main Street. And that's not all that the committee is about. We've started in the Main Street area, certainly, trying to put stores in the empty storefronts, trying to help address parking issues, sidewalk issues, crosswalk issues, the river and the cleanup of the river, having business forums for aspiring entrepreneurs to come and find out how you get into these opportunities. With the thought that by building a solid downtown as part of our community, it spreads out from there. I've seen other communities that have employed these tactics, whether it's Meredith, Ashland, Plymouth, Bristol, and they're having success on various levels by focusing on their core downtown community and working their way out from there. So this is kind of a phase one thing. We're starting downtown, and hopefully we can get momentum built up and then move our efforts to both east and west. We have a lot of businesses on Route 3 and other locations in town, and certainly nobody would be excluded from our programs, but the focus being downtown, we'd like to change the name of the committee to reflect that.
Discussion?
Should we add Tilton to the front of it?
Thank you.
That was one of the suggestions, certainly. They voted on Main Street Committee. There's nothing to say that we can't add Tilton into it, because the committee is ours, the name of the committee is ours. This is merely a request from the committee as a whole.
I don't know how you would identify it as a Tilton committee if it doesn't have Tilton Main Street Committee.
Well, and especially if you're going
Or
to
Main
be
Street Committee of Tilton, whatever.
soliciting
I do not
information,
disagree.
Whatnot, it would be less confusing if it's a Tilton Main Street.
So as a selectman, I would move to amend it to the Tilton Main Street Committee.
Second.
And then I'm all for it.
I had a couple questions, Joe. Now, under this committee, there's the subcommittees or subgroups, but it still is all under the Main Street.
Absolutely. It's all under one banner, and we've broken into smaller groups because the scope of
Cover as much.
the things, whether it's the business opportunities or beautification, the first project that we're actively pursuing at this time is putting lamp posts on Main Street. In order to do that, we have to bury the wires. So we would also like permission to pursue contacting Eversource and the state of New Hampshire, searching for grants. But for us to go out and just search for grants without the leave of the selectmen seems presumptuous to us. That would, yeah, we want to do it, but to go out and try to do business as the town of Tilton on any level is inappropriate.
No,
So,
you can,
anyway,
anyone
Joe,
can
could
solicit
we stick with
bids.
the name thing before we go on to
Okay,
that? What
okay,
you're gonna do?
all right, okay.
And I personally, I think the name is great, but I think it's too plain for all the things that you guys are doing. You're encompassing so much, and there's so many Tilton Main Street, Bristol Main Street, or whatever, that the work that you're doing is so much more, and that if you could throw another adjective in there,
Like Tilton?
that's a noun.
Build
you know,
Main Street beautification,
Go.
economic
Revitalization.
revitalization, I mean, they're all
We
there.
went through all of these
That's,
things.
you know,
I'm
that's
just
what the
saying.
committee's happy with.
And what I'm thinking is it also builds up more spirit when you see that coming out there and say, you know, here's our Main Street Committee.
There were 20 suggestions, and a lot of them encompass revitalization and all of these various aspects of the program. And this is what we as a committee came up with. So, take that for what it's worth.
Public? Jason?
I want to caution you on the use of just Main Street, or even Tilton Main Street. Because back when we had a Main Street committee, there's still some bad vibes out on the street.
Yeah.
That came up.
Because it was Main Street, and that excluded many businesses that were neither on East Main or West Main. We kept it railroad track to railroad track. However, the Black Swan was allowed to, because they were cool and Victorian, and the Outlet Mall, which is not on East or West, they were allowed to participate. It was exclusionary and cliquey, and I don't think you want to stir that one up again, because there's some folks out there that just.
Certainly not the way this committee is operating, and I understand what you're saying.
Book by its cover. They won't open the book if the cover is.
Economic Opportunities Committee, I don't know.
It's tough.
You know,
Yeah,
if
but
this is
that's
what,
no more descriptive than this.
if you have a committee and they have discussed this and chosen this, and they really like to call themselves this, they've been doing all the work. I do think they should tilt to it, only because when they go out there in the world, it's easier for people to go, which Main Street is it? I don't know. But if you have Tilton, they know. But I think if that's what they want to call themselves, I mean, their focus is really determined by ourselves, the Board of Selectmen.
Give somebody else in the audience, just brainstorming is the best thing to do.
Hi,
Go ahead.
wonderful selectman. I'm Brother Steve up from Florida. I like listening to all of you. Why not throw in something exciting like Tilton Life Committee or Tilton Life and Main Street Committee? It just it shows that you care about the activity of life in Tilton. Something to think about. Plus, it will also help market my life Peace Zone concept. Just the thought for all of us.
Peter's
I think, Peter?
How about Tilton First Impressions? That way you leave the Main Street out of it altogether. We're talking about the impression of the whole town. Soup to nuts.
Renewal. It was the syllabus for revitalization, reanimation.
We're having the same conversation now that we've had 20 times a day, those committee meetings.
Yeah, well, you need a better answer than what you brought.
Well,
But
the
they-
committee didn't think so.
You know, they're the ones that are doing this. They're the ones that are doing all the work. This is the name that they feel fits them.
I agree.
I'm not gonna second guess.
Jeannie?
I'm just curious, what is the relationship of this committee to the town of Tilton? The committee operating under
The Board of
the
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, should have some input into it because they're representing the town.
We
So-
certainly do. We can name it whatever we want. This is their recommendation, and they took a vote to come up with it.
We can call them whatever the Board of Selectmen wants to. I'm just
Yep.
saying we should honor
And
what
it-
the
yeah.
committee wants.
I just think for the success of it, that it needs some more enthusiasm. And like Jason was saying, we had a Main Street Committee that caused a lot of controversy before. And I think to spark more people to be involved in it, it needs something that is a new approach to it, which you guys are all doing. And it's just, I mean, you've got so much more than just Main Street. That's too plain of a name for all the things that you guys are doing. And
I agree, but how do you encompass all that?
Yeah.
Without all of a sudden putting it into a slot. It can't be the Tilton River sidewalks, business opportunity, revitalization, all the different things we do. So we didn't.
Downtown committee.
No, it's the whole town. You're dealing with impressions. Tilton's first
I think that
impression says
first
it all.
impression is a great name personally, because. or
Okay, but the first
impressions,
impression,
because that's what you're doing, is you're getting people impressed. That will inspire people, and
I say let them go. They wanted the town, just add Tilton to it, Main Street.
the first impression you get of Tilton is either exit 20,
They're just gonna have to
Franklin,
work harder.
or this one.
You know, if they come
Park
up with that
Street.
challenge of Main Street, and they
Main
come up
Street's
with
like
that
the second
block
or
of the
third.
Main Street, they're gonna just have to work harder to overcome that,
That was a long time ago.
yes?
That was a different
I think we have,
organization.
Eric, Jason,
You
Eric,
need like an acronym, like ART, like ambassadors for renewal of Tilton, something that's punchy and,
But it's not the name.
I
it's
have
the
several really good ones, but this is what they voted on.
So they want to take on the mantle of this previous failed committee and live under that, that's what they
They're
want.
gonna show people what that committee should have done and could be and will be.
But are they gonna be wasting time, valuable energy, trying to overcome that
No,
stigma?
they're gonna
Not
go
so
forward
far.
and do what they're doing.
We have a lot of energy and enthusiasm on that
They're gonna do
committee.
what they're doing.
We have exit 20 representatives, we have downtown, we have people, random people. The police chief, we have Jeannie Forrester comes to our meetings. Lots of people, we have 20, 30 people that come to these things on a regular
when
basis.
do they meet again?
I asked her so that I would know the answer to this, but I don't know. I don't know, and she didn't know right off the top of her head.
Are they taking
Call a question.
Can we ask them to?
Yes.
I'll call the question.
You have two motions on the floor right now.
We have two motions. We had one.
You want an amendment
Amendment.
to the original motion.
That's right. So we're voting on the amendment.
Doesn't the same person have to amend the motion, or is
Yeah,
that
it could be
amendment?
anybody.
No, we made a motion
Hang on
to
a
amend
second.
the original
One person.
motion.
Who made the motion? Could you repeat it?
Joe made a motion to rename the committee to Main Street Committee, Catherine seconded.
Okay.
And then I
And then
made
we
the
have a motion
amendment.
to amend. Anybody a second on the motion to
I
amend?
did.
We have a second on the motion to amend. All those in favor of amending the motion to be
Tilton.
Tilton Main Street Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Present.
Motion
Aye.
passes.
So we get 2-4.
I'm a no.
I'm a no.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm against the whole name, Main Street and anything.
3-4.
Yep.
So it's
thanks.
3-2.
So the amendment failed.
The amendment failed. You're back to the original motion of calling it the Main Street.
Call the question?
Okay. All those in favor of calling the committee the Main Street Committee, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
No. Okay, 3.
The ayes have it.
It's the Main Street Committee. Plain and simple.
Tilton Main Street would have been prettier. So, you said there are subcommittees, subgroups?
There are.
Are
There's-
they out there actively doing things, contacting? and-
They're brainstorming. The business subgroup had a seminar last week, and it was for the potential entrepreneurs. I always foul that word up. To learn how to start businesses and how to get financing and how to do advertising and all the various things that go with that. So that's something they have done. We had the Downtown Beautification Committee working on sidewalk chalk. As you might recall, they got washed away real quick last year. It was a pilot program, and I think it was successful, excepting maybe the rain, and they want to do versions of that, and they want to paint the intersection.
So They're not indemnified.
Only under the umbrella of the town.
No, they're not. If they are not members, and we have not signed them in as members of the committee, they are not indemnified.
Aren't they members of the committee?
Everybody that I know of is a member of the committee.
Okay,
Do they
so
have the
there's-
So
paperwork
you've taken your
downtown?
members.
Only the members.
Okay, I
Yeah,
thought
This
you
is only the
had.
members.
And
Other
they've broken
people.
off into groups.
We have
Right.
people
That's
that come in and brainstorm with us. I was talking with Sheena. She had lots of good
And
ideas.
that's fine. If
I
they're
said,
just,
come on down. But the only ones that are actually ramrodding these things are the committee members.
you've got to be careful of that. If they're just
Yeah.
coming to the meetings, it's a public meeting,
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
can attend.
And they can
But if they're
participate. Anybody
physically
can
active-
participate.
Okay,
They should become members.
so,
So are we back to the lamppost, pursuing grants with an eyeball towards burying the wires on Main Street?
If that's
Just to
really-
see what's out there.
If that's really something they want to pursue, since we're planning on replacing the sidewalk this summer, they probably ought to see what it would cost to add conduit for that electrical. If they know where they want to put these lampposts.
There's a plan, but I'm not part of that subcommittee, so I don't know. Right now, we're just looking at the possibility of getting a little help with burying those wires, because it's gonna cost a lot of money.
But I don't know as a Board of Selectmen would allow a brand-new sidewalk to be cut open and have wires
so
buried under it.
what's the question?
Can we pursue grants?
Gina, where are you at with some of that stuff?
It's not a-
I, for me, I guess, it's great that you have this committee and the enthusiasm, and you don't want to dampen that, you want to take advantage of that, but I get concerned about what's the plan, and has that plan been presented to the selectmen?
No.
For instance, you talk about sidewalks, and it would be nice, I think, to have, and Juliet was supposed to come in, and she had a work conflict, so she couldn't be here. But I think it would be nice for the selectmen to know from the committee, okay, these are the things we're gonna try to attack in the next year, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. This is what we'd like, a formal presentation to this board, and really also have the discussion about, when you say pursue grants, I think about, my serving on the
Pursue
great,
the information, and not pursue the grant specifically,
Okay.
make applications
Right.
or whatever.
but I guess what I would want to, how do I want to say this? If they're representing the town, that the selectmen be aware of it, because how embarrassed would you be if you got a call from somebody out of the blue, Peter, John, Joe, you're on the
I'm
committee.
bringing it up now.
Right, but I don't know, but, somebody say, so, hey, Catherine, somebody from DOT, I had a meeting with so-and-so, and the selectmen, it's a committee under the selectmen, and all I'm saying is, I think there should be, you all should understand what it is they're doing. That's all.
We're trying to find funding sources, merely that. There is a plan, what they would like to see, kind of, sort of. We have no engineering, we don't have any of that stuff. We have an idea, and we have to pursue it on some level. So seeing if we could come to the selectmen and say, yeah, I got $1 million from here, potentially, or $100,000 from here to help defray the cost. Because I'm sitting here right now, and it'd be I want lampposts and bury the wires, and with what information we have right now, I couldn't vote for it. We don't have the information.
Are you asking permission to identify grants or to actually apply for grants?
Identify grants.
Oh, well, no one needs permission to identify
I
grants.
just want you to be fully aware
I
that that's
appreciate
where,
that.
that's
Yeah.
where we're
So,
going.
coming
We're not
up.
looking
A
to
different
make
matter.
applications, because we don't
Well,
have.
I think so, the idea is you're asking to produce a vision of what you would like to see and where possible monies could come from.
Unfortunately, Jules couldn't stay
Yeah.
today, but that was part of the presentation last
Yeah.
week.
But I think as for formally going out in a direction without all of us coordinating on it, because, the town officials have things, and Dari might have plans, and Jeannie's got something in the works, and if this committee, if they go up and start applying for things, it will be
No,
very
they just want to
disruptive.
identify.
So
Yeah,
the
not
thoughts are, I
suggesting.
think that we're seeing it's okay for you guys to go out and come up with a vision and possible grant.
Possible
How
fund.
the money could be funded. Does that work out with you? Because it should be through the town administrator that we're
Oh,
coordinating.
no, if there was applications, that would be a different thing.
Yeah, no, if you just
Altogether.
identify.
I'd love to be able to tell you that there's a grant here and a potential grant there and a potential grant here.
I see. I see. You, okay?
I'm good.
Eric?
So, a couple of questions. I believe that the town has an ordinance or a policy against digging up recently paved roads for a period of time for, I believe it's 7 years. So I would wonder if this project that they're trying to get grants for would be a violation of that. That would be my first question.
Main Street's a state road.
But the sidewalks
It's not a town road.
But the sidewalks are town.
And that's
We
what
do-
Catherine was saying.
And we do have works in for
So
the
my question is, just sound like, I just found out you're looking at replacing the sidewalks this year. So is there an opportunity to coordinate, maybe talk to Eversource about possibly doing some work? You're already doing half the work for them, you're digging up the sidewalks and coordinating this a little bit better so that it's, you know, it's not haphazard, it's a little bit more organized and effort. Yeah, I know if you're already looking at doing something this summer, it's a time crunch and getting that type of work done, but you know, maybe Eversource would work with you better on putting lamps up. I think that's a great idea, but I worry about if I'm paying for new sidewalks out of my tax dollars, and in 2 years, you're gonna dig them all up again?
No, that's exactly what we're talking about. So they should be going through, like the town administrator, see what we already have in the works.
I just
And
wanna
come
make
up with
sure
a
the
vision
left hand knows
first.
the left hand
Some of
knows.
those,
We
some of
haven't
those,
seen anything.
we've identified already some of the places that need outlets. And correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, but there is some conduits going in, like for the trees or whatever, so that when they wire them up or wherever the exact locations are. So we do have some going in now, but what we're talking about now is running conduits specifically for a lamp post. Where would those be? And can we get that work done prior to the replacement of the sidewalks? Because if we can't do it before then, I would be loath to dig up a brandy new sidewalk downtown. Just, no.
Or,
Just throwing it out there, so.
yeah.
I have a question.
Peter's gonna go first and then.
So when we were talking on Main Street, bringing the wires down, we're taking all the existing poles down, was that?
That's the dream, Peter, is to
Okay,
bury
well,
all the
for
wires.
starters, we're off by 3 because you have 3 conduits. Eversource, phone, and cable, right? You can't put them all in the same.
No, that's absolutely true. There's a lot of coordinating.
The
work.
other question, Catherine, we own the parking area, correct? So we could technically bury there, but you still would have to do laterals, which is the problem. Which you could try to core, but that cost would be astronomical.
Well, we're just exploring the options at this point and what does this look like in reality? But we just wanted the board's leave to start pursuing.
I'm pleased
some of the
someone's working on it
Yeah.
and
So
looking into it.
Yeah, I think it's great. We've got some sidewalks are going in, we have some electrical stuff that's going to be done for Christmas lighting, and we're going to be paving the sidewalks. So if they could meet and come up with some ideas real fast, like as Eric was saying, so that we can coordinate it before the sidewalks go in, we don't miss the
I
thing.
will be in touch with the chairman right after the meeting.
Even if
tonight.
it's just the lantern part, the lamps, and I'm sure we've looked at burying the electrical, and that could stall the whole thing
Yeah, it
for
could.
longer than the sidewalk will last with this paving session. And Jason,
It's a quick question.
yeah,
Does the town have or use, or has the town ever used a professional grant writer?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
When we were doing Riverfront Park, we wrote the grants ourselves.
Joyce used to write grants on some level.
I guess, you know,
I'm guessing Ms.
qualifying a
Morrison came up with
professional,
a
if
grant.
somebody's very successful
The
and
thing
does
with-
it a lot.
Typically, the thing with grants is the more you do, the more credentials you get, and the better success rate you have as a grant writer. If somebody's out of the gate writing the grant for the first time, their failure rate's very high until they get a few under their belt, and then you get somebody that's written a lot of grants. The more you do, the better you get at it, and yeah.
We also have several people on the committee that have experience with writing grants, or grant applications.
And that's kind of like the way, like, as you say, if we were to send somebody from the Main Street program out to get a grant, it could be a little,
Yeah, well, no, unless you got somebody that's got the
so
background.
that's why we
then,
want
you
to
know.
coordinate through our town administrator. And
We won't halfway this.
okay. Other, you're
Yeah,
still
I'm
up.
still up, right?
You're still up.
The Lockmere Village Water District's annual meeting is on April 9th at 5:30 at the Senior Center. Please come on down if you're an affected user. My next thing is there was a giant eagle on top of the gazebo on Island Park.
We know where that is.
And we do know where that is.
Vermont.
It's in Shelburne,
Shelburne.
Shelburne Museum.
Shelburne
Yes,
Museum.
Shelburne,
And
Vermont.
the condition of the eagle is not such that it could withstand traveling. The wingspan is 8 feet and it's like 10 feet tall.
Nor would you get it back.
Huh?
Nor would you get it back.
No, and they were approached about that, and they're not interested in parting with the eagle.
No, they're not.
They're going to have it restored, and they've got a place for it up there. The only reason I bring this up is that I would like to plant the seed of, I would love to see if there was somebody out there that could make us a smaller version of that. Something that we could have that ties us back to that time period. And I don't even know what that would take, but I would like to.
A wood carver.
Yeah, well, it would take a wood carver, no doubt. It would take a really good wood carver, because I don't
In
want to.
Sutton.
Huh?
There's one over in Sutton.
Is the original wood or metal?
Yep,
Oh, it's wood.
wood.
It's red
Why don't you make a new one out of metal?
Of butter?
metal.
Metal.
Oh.
I would rather have it stay wood.
Butter might be tasty.
It would melt in August. And it sits on top of a base that's a beehive that's supposed to represent industry. Busy as bees, that kind of thing. And I would like to just ask around and see if there's people out there who are interested in being part of a project, and if that's going to cost money, or would an artist like to do this to be a part of the community. Maybe we've got people in town who do work with woods who might.
We have a
I
lot
think
of
that's
very
great.
crafty people.
We
Get
do.
some good pictures of it, 3D imagery or something like that. Somebody wants to go up there?
We could even maybe install it on the gazebo at Island Park,
Well,
perhaps.
but we do have other pedestals.
We do have other pedestals, and there was an idea. There are, Catherine, you would be the one that knows this. You were around then.
So were you.
That's true.
We are the same age.
When the originally Mr. Tilton gave statues, one of which sits right here in front of the town hall.
America.
There were how many of those, Catherine? 5, 6?
Of these,
Yeah.
we have America, Europa, and Asia.
But
Someone felt we had a fourth. I don't know, but I think there were, all 7 continents. You could have.
I think there was like 5 or 6 of them anyway.
We
at the
had a
time.
lot of monuments. They weren't all of this series. There was a Roman fellow, I don't know where he stood, because we have part of him downstairs.
There you go. See, so there's one right there. So I would.
The Boston Globe did an article years ago about all the statuary.
So we can
too.
go with this, don't we?
Where I'm going is that they can reproduce the statues in various They wouldn't have to be stone. It could be like
Composites.
a composite material, a resin thing that stands up to the weather like stone, looks like stone. It's not concrete.
Thank God.
One of the things they could do is it Asia that stands at the high school?
That's
I
got a
think so.
broken arm or
Or
whatever.
is that Europa?
One or the other, I forget.
Go ahead.
Timetable Mabel's the other one, but we
Yeah.
could fix their arm.
We could do that, and they could put it on there ostensibly that you wouldn't even know there'd been a repair.
It'd be even cheaper if we get a 3D printer ourselves.
Maybe. But I'm just looking to pursue that real casual to see if there's
Requests? You know, somebody-
There's still forges out there that make statuary.
there are. So, with your permission, I'm going to pursue that a little bit more. It may come to nothing, but wouldn't it be nice to have all those statues back up and
It
down
would be very nice.
East and West and Main Street? Parks,
We have a lot of bases.
one in Riverfront or wherever. So, yeah. And then I'm done.
Thanks. Catherine?
I have questions. How's that? Bitter and Lane, we had a permit that came in. That they're going to be doing some culvert work. In order to extend an existing 12-inch diameter, 25-foot long driveway culvert to a 12-inch diameter by 30-foot long culvert. And I couldn't find any more of this permit. It's a wetlands non-site specific permit. DES didn't seem to have any more, and I was just wondering if this work involved connecting to one of the town culverts. And if our public works director, if it is, if he was aware of it.
Is that from DES?
Yes.
Did we comment on that? Ask for more specifics?
This is all we've gotten, and I think it's just.
We can comment on it.
Oh, you can have that.
When's the time for comment up?
Well, I don't think I asked Cindy, we haven't gotten a whole packet, because I was looking for a map.
They probably sent it to them incomplete, and we have a certain time period to comment on that.
Oh, before they have to put the packet together?
Before they approve it. And if we comment on it saying that we have not received, or we need more details to comment, then they would have to submit that.
I went to there, what is it?
And did Chuck see that, Conservation Commission?
Kathy knows about it, so Chuck must, and Cindy does.
We haven't seen it.
It came into, yeah, Cindy,
When did that come in?
you can keep that. I
Okay.
have it in my,
It hasn't come to the selectmen.
so I was just curious if, because if
No.
it does, obviously, he should be aware of it and had it.
The thing is, we only get a certain period of time to comment on those, and then they approve them, if it's a DES. permit.
Expiration date's February 27th, 2024.
Oh,
But that's
to
for the,
construct it, but
yeah,
to comment.
but there's nothing in there that says anything
It
about
was
a
odd to
comment
me.
period. What'd you say?
Can I show it to, I'll show it to John, you'll give it back to Jeannie. That'd be great. My other question is, Mike Kimball from New Hampshire DOT came in a few weeks ago, and in their records, Jocelyn Lane is a Class 5 town road. I always thought it was a private road.
Oh, it's a permit,
So I'm wondering
it's
if
already approved.
somebody looked into this, to see if it was Jocelyn, to see if there was a mistake somewhere, and to clarify it with DOT.
So in the history, you're saying? Somewhere in the back history?
Mike Kimball,
Yeah,
who does the driveway permits, there was a problem at Jocelyn in Route 3,
right,
in that a culvert was causing ice
right.
to be built up in Route 3, and it actually caused an accident.
Mhm.
So when they looked up to see who had ownership of the road,
Yeah,
their records show it as a Class 5 town road. I was looking to see if there was a date.
we classify it as a town road.
No, we don't maintain it at all, we never have. We have it on record as a private road. So this is January 25th.
Who did the research?
That's what I'm asking, if anybody has clarified this.
I thought we had Joslin up to Moore Street, and then Moore Street's a,
I don't know, but I
Private
can
road.
look into it. I don't know.
So, yeah, we'll go have to look into that.
Thank you. That's it.
Catherine, I thought we maintained Joslin up to Moore Street.
We've never maintained Jocelyn.
I can't.
There's a,
It is private on the sheet, on the whole thing?
there's a person that owns a piece of property up there that's always wanted to develop it. And
So-
one of the drawbacks is because it was a private road.
So we need to do double check and research that one
Oh,
and
yeah.
then get on that. Thanks.
Come with the planning board.
That's all.
I do have the list
all you
of
got?
streets right here.
I just had one thing. Presently, I sent a note out, but
I'm sorry, did we ask if you could speak?
I
He's
let
the
everybody
chairman.
else speak first, so. Yeah, I'm going to have a butt, turn off the other mics.
My gosh.
Presently, the islands are all, lights on the island are all blown out except for one. And they're incandescent bulbs that cost, I think it's like $4.65 or $5 a piece, and they seem to last about 3 months. And Kevin's always running over there and they're trying to replace them and this and that. The present bulbs are 150 watt bulbs, which give off considerable amounts of heat, and they just don't last. And years ago, I think some of you might remember, we couldn't get in LED bulbs that were 150 watts at anywhere near a reasonable price. They're finally now becoming, are available, and they are warranted, and they are, I got a price of 8 bulbs for $64 with, I believe it was like 25,000 hours of life. And these bulbs, so anyway, they only draw 20 watts of electricity. So,
Do it.
which is great because we'll be using less electricity on that wiring, overheating the lamps and all
How
that.
much?
$64 for 8 bulbs. We have, I think it's 5 or 6 lamps. So for $65,
And that's all you
We'll have
do is
that
just
couple
switch out the
extras.
bulbs?
Yeah, that's it.
You just switch out the bulbs?
yeah, I'll do it or somebody else. So
Do it.
And what's the life
Yes.
expectancy of these bulbs again? More than 3 months.
we're talking like more than 3 years, I think it was.
Perfect.
25,000. Yeah, they're LED bulbs.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, that makes
So they'll
totally
cost
good
less
sense, John.
and less electricity, and I think that we should also look into replacing the fluorescent tube bulbs that are under the gazebo at some point too.
Do those bulbs, do they have an LED
Yep,
option to that?
yeah. So,
How
but
often do those go out?
they don't, but they do use considerably more amounts of electricity, and there are a few that are blown out. They get a lot hotter, and
We should
Right.
replace them with the good ones.
we'll start out, I figured, get the light posts, and I figured it's a no-brainer. So that's it, and either Kevin or I, we can order them. I can give you the number, or we
Why
can,
don't you give it to me, I'll
Yeah.
get Kevin to take care of it.
okay.
It's a big
Yes.
yes.
And it's 7 o'clock, so we are officially going to close the hearing on the housing ordinance, housing standards ordinance. What's this? That's it. That's closed. So why don't we make a motion, or I'll make the motion to approve the amendments to the housing standards ordinance as written,
With the exception
with the
of
exception of the
overcrowding.
overcrowding section. It was on page 3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved?
Thank you.
It was easy, huh?
Will you let Darren know that those were?
It wasn't easy to
Those
get there,
changes were
though.
made.
Easy.
Yep,
will
yes,
get
I
it
will.
done.
Oh, yeah, I will.
That's done. Okay, and I think that's about it. We had somebody here in the audience that wanted to spend a couple minutes to talk to us about, no, I've read your name in the email. Introduce yourself.
Lay brother Stephen Gerard Sobolewski.
Okay. You know, yeah, come on up, there's a microphone right here, and spend a few minutes.
First off, I think all of you taught me. Just listening to your beautiful meeting, this is very beneficial. I don't always get to sit in when you're discussing planning and things like that, economic development. Anyway, I'm just giving you an update on the Life Peace Zone progress in New Hampshire. Since I've spoken here,
2 years ago?
maybe it was about 2 years ago, I think it's maybe May or something, I was also able to speak at your Concord City Council and your Manchester City Council. And just letting you know that citizens, more and more citizens are hearing about this possibility of life peace zones, which today we could actually call pro-life sanctuary cities, pro-life safe haven cities, if you will. And your citizens keep hearing about it, and that's the good thing. It helps that I'm speaking to a few town hall meetings, just to remind everybody that we're making progress even in New Hampshire, just to let you know that. If it helps you, I think there are some cities who had to deal with hurricane problems in Florida who had to replace sidewalks and everything. And if I think of any of those cities that come to mind, I think Venice, Florida, you might want to just call some of those city council members there, because maybe they will help you not avoid any obstacles and go more freely into what you're trying to accomplish here with sidewalks and new lights and things like that. So the goal of Life Peace Zones, just to let you know very quickly, is that citizens would vote in a new citizen overlay zone. It kind of reflects what you already are. You already are a pro-life sanctuary city, because I believe you're protecting the child peacefully developing in the mother's womb right now, because your city doesn't do anything contrary to that. So you already are a pro-life sanctuary city. You just have to actually ratify it now. And I can tell you, I've been at city council meetings where they didn't have a say in it. The citizens didn't have a say in it. If you did your research on Aurora, Illinois, the citizens didn't have a say there, and I don't want your city to go in that same direction, okay? They're in the book 40 Days for Life. If you Google, as my thing says, Considering Life Peace Zones, I talk a little bit about Aurora. The new article that recently was written is Wildwood Sanctuary Cities, and was published in the Villages in Florida. It's the largest retirement community in the country, by the way. So that occurred on the 26th. Huh?
My aunt lives there.
Oh, so you know. So there you go. So progress continues to be made as I nurture the possibility of life peace zones from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay,
Motion to
do
adjourn.
we have any other important information? We do have Eric Pyra.
Is there public comment available in this meeting?
Yes, I always, so I kept asking. Anytime, just,
I have a list.
Do you want to come and sit at
Don't worry, we'll be out of here by midnight.
do you want to sit down at the?
The mic will pick you up that way.
All right. Just a couple questions. And they're more curiosity questions, but last week on, earlier this week on Facebook, there was a comment made about an official outside of town hall smoking and throwing their cigarettes into the storm drain. I want to know what the town policy is going to be to correct that from happening again, because those cigarettes are going to wind up right in our beautiful river.
There's no smoking on town property at all,
Okay, but
whatsoever.
the sidewalks are a public place.
Correct.
Correct.
So,
Well, we certainly should send something around, excuse me, to all our town employees. I don't know who smokes and who doesn't. They should not be throwing their cigarette butts into the storm drain.
That's correct.
correct.
Is that where you said
It
they
was
went?
commented by the person that was doing it.
No, they said
She
sewer.
was unaware that it was a storm drain.
Sewer drain.
Tilton's talking, I've heard about this,
Oh.
and I haven't,
I haven't,
The person that was doing it said she was unaware that it was the storm drain, and she thought it was a sewer drain.
It doesn't really make it any
so they
better.
threw the butt.
So I did a little math, figuring that this person takes about 2 cigarette breaks a day, 5 days a week. It's about 500 cigarettes a year being thrown into that storm drain. If there's 2 people, I know of 2 people in this town hall that smoke, that's 1,000 cigarettes if they're both doing it. So I would urge the town to spend $75 on getting an ashtray or an ash bucket outside the town hall so that there's proper disposal. Because I also wouldn't want them to dispose of the cigarettes inside town hall and causing a fire.
In the spring and the fall, when we have our trash receptacles, there's a little receptacle on the top for the butts.
They do have
All
things,
excepting
I've seen
the
them
winter.
that have those big long necks and you stick your cigarette in, I don't know where it goes in there.
We have them at the senior center. They're inexpensive.
Maybe we should
Yeah,
put one out there.
definitely.
Because
heard
I've picked
loud
up
and clear.
cigarette butts.
I've heard quite a few other people bring this up. Have you seen?
I've
No,
not-
I don't do
no.
Facebook.
And
But I've had people put cigarette butts out in
Just bringing that
flower
to the board's
planter.
attention, that since you established policy for town employees, I would strongly recommend that you establish some type of smoking policy outside on the town hall.
We can't regulate
public-
smoking on a public
On a public way,
sidewalk.
we
Well, then,
can't.
I'd like the police department to
It's
cite
not-
for littering.
It's not,
They
If
freely
they
admitted
see
it
them,
was
if
littering.
they see them, then they
They
can
have freely
link
admitted
to
that
it.
they have littered. They should be cited for that.
You might talk to the chief and
Jeannie,
see
can
what-
you take a look and, Gail, take a look at the price for the smoke,
They're not that expensive.
they're not, they're, I think like $50 or something.
Maybe a little more than that, but
That's $100. I mean,
The hard plastic ones, they're,
plastic ones burn, just to let you know. Because no one's gonna empty it, and then all of a sudden you're gonna have 500 cigarettes in there, and they're gonna catch on fire.
They do. They get that at Home
It
Depot.
would be maintained.
I've
It
seen
would
them.
have to
I've
be
seen them
maintained.
walk by
But
on
they
the
do
team
other
smoke.
places. I
Well,
don't know.
no, but just,
yeah, I think you might be right. We have the metal ones. That,
We also have to think of placement because we do open the windows.
so thank you. On a personal note, my daughter was trying to do the responsible thing and registered to vote. However, when she came to register and vote, and nowhere could I find on the town website that registration to vote had to be done 10 days prior to the election.
You can register to vote right there,
I
day of the
wish
election.
I know,
trying to
but it should have been,
There was nowhere mentioned
the
it,
checklist, that
you know.
that should have been, you're right.
so,
Well, they had public notice,
The supervisor
like the
notices?
Sun, this is the last date to register prior to the election, I believe I saw.
Right, but if we had something on the website
Yeah.
that was there all the time,
Yeah,
I actually found it tonight.
how to register to vote.
I found it tonight going through the state's website, link on there, but I
I'm
just-
sure that's an easy fix.
Also, I've heard a lot about projects and expenses and things like that going out, but I go to the town's website for RFPs, and the only RFP I see in there is one that's for the sewer project. That looks like it might be outdated, because I think it had a deadline in there of like 2017 or 2018.
But that's an old RFP,
You know,
It's your last engineering one, most likely.
yeah.
But, so, on that,
Do we characteristically put RFPs on the town website?
it's a link on the left side of the town
Well,
website.
apparently that's
Yes.
not happening.
when we
so-
send them out, we put them on the web.
So I'm curious to where the town is sending out for proposals or for bids, because I don't ever see anything in the Laconia Daily Sun. And granted, that's the only newspaper I ever read, but I don't ever see anything in the Daily Sun looking for proposals when I see them for other towns, so I'm just curious to, and I know that you have a policy, I believe, if it's $500 or $1,000, that you're supposed to receive 3 bids. And
It's a,
And we do, we look at them, why then it's not getting out there, I don't know, but.
that was raised to $1,500.
okay, but still,
Yeah,
so I've never seen anything for paving, I've never seen anything, for becoming a contractor for the town in case.
We do put it in the Echo, and we put it in the Laconia Sun.
I've never seen anything for the town of Tilton other than planning board and zoning board.
Echo,
Did these recent RFPs for the paving get into the newspaper?
That would be a Joyce question. Nelson's had it.
Good. What else we've got?
The ones that Kevin just put out?
They didn't go in the paper. They just go out to the contract. I'm not sure if they're on his highway website or
I'll
not.
find out.
well,
Because there's,
Our
normally
policy-
we do put them, post
just
them on the
to
website.
reiterate the policy is not to put them in the paper to go out. The policy is to seek 3 bids.
Right.
That's the policy.
A minimum.
A minimum of 3
How-
bids.
how do I-
He's
Sometimes
talking
on-
about requests for proposals like the paving project.
Right, on request for proposals, sometimes we send them out to a list of sometimes 20 contractors and
But how do I know the town's getting the best deal because it hasn't been offered to all available contractors? You're only calling select contractors.
We're calling contractors who we deem as capable of handling the project.
How many contractors run the list, Gil? Around?
Maybe 10.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just looking for transparency
Yeah.
because
But we've
Well,
typically posted them on the website.
Right.
And yet there's no sign of them on the website, so
So we
maybe
must have missed, so these must have slipped by.
we can do that.
Typically, we post them on the website. You're absolutely right. We do.
I always
post them on
thought
the
they
website.
were.
So
I never looked.
evidently, this one got mixed in
Yeah.
the, right.
Yeah.
But we do not,
What else
we
you-
do not send
what
them out
else?
on the Echo or whatever, not for RFPs. We just get the
So
3
what do you-
bids.
So we got going
I
on.
got one more thing.
Yeah.
So I happened to be reading the minutes, the latest, I think, the February meeting, and I happened to mention a project being done on Cedar Street. If I read it correctly, it said it's going to take 2 years,
Multi-year.
multi-year
Oh,
project.
Yes.
When are you going to notify the residents of Cedar Street that they're going to be subject to a multi-year project?
The
When
bids
it
will be
starts.
opened on the 14th.
At the what?
The bids are planned to be opened on the 14th.
March 14th.
So the
Next
select
week.
board already had this discussion, Eric, a couple of weeks ago about how the public would be notified, and they've got a plan for that.
Well, I have issues because a couple of years ago, as a resident of Cedar Street, I was invited to a hearing about traffic and parking in the neighborhood, and nothing has been done with that by the
4
school.
years.
4 years.
Yeah, at least 4 years.
And nothing's been done to that. We
Yeah,
sat-
because
we
we can't make
sat-
up our minds.
Well, it was, and things have been done. We got a study done.
You haven't followed up with the residents, and no one from that neighborhood knows what's going on. As far as we know, our concerns and comments fell on deaf ears.
We can't tell you what's going on, Eric. The reason why we can't tell you what's going on, because we, as a board, can't agree what's going on.
right
Or
now,
what to do.
right now,
It's just sad.
we are waiting for the chief of police, if you
Mhm.
remember, to come back with a proposal.
Yep.
We brought it up last fall.
Thought he came
And
back
he's
with
been
a
asked,
proposal.
no, I've asked him, since the initial, I've asked him twice. Now, he's only in here, he's not in here at every meeting, as you can see. But right now, we're waiting for him to come back for a
So
proposal.
I guess
We'll inform Jeannie and let her know, and then we'll follow up on it.
it just skews my optimism that I, as a resident, are going to be notified of what's going to be going on unless I specifically happen to go on the website
You will
and
definitely
see.
We don't want to notify the residents until we know the cost of what's going to happen, and the span of what's going to happen, and we will know that on the 14th of March. When we know that, then we can notify the residents. And
One
that's
of the
kinda where
things,
we're going
like with all the roads, we've got that 10-year plan for replacing the
There's
roads.
3 roads that are
So
going to be done.
we have certain ones that are in the plan. I believe these Cedar is one of them that was scheduled for it. And what we're trying to do is figure out the best way of doing it, getting the
Right.
proposals for it.
Well, I know when
and
they
then-
did Spruce a couple of years ago, they ground it up, and then they had all the utilities come in and do their work, and then they paved it. But this sounded like there's going to be catch basin work and some other stuff done, so.
Right.
So I'm just,
Right, because there's a drainage issue in front of Maple Court and where the
Well, I know
drain,
where
where
that
that
water
is.
goes.
Right,
Until a company has been selected, we
Yeah.
don't know when it will start
Yeah.
and the
exactly.
duration.
Yeah,
So
What we
until
can-
that's done, we don't have anything to tell the residents.
right.
But the reason why it's a 2-year is we were going to go and do all the work and get the base coat.
Base
used.
coat, and then the next
Okay.
year.
And then that way, that will settle
coat.
in and packing.
Well, I have no problem with that, but
And then
being a
do it
resident,
first. Yeah.
having to deal with construction for 2 summers is.
Well, it won't be like the
No,
whole
but-
summer, you
Well,
know.
no, but I work and have to deal with Laconia, and I see a lot of dust, and a lot of people over there complain about a lot of dust, and my street at certain times of the year is very busy, from 2:20 until 4 o'clock every day, so that'll be another issue I'll bring up another day. But-
Yeah.
So,
We've got a list.
but I appreciate your time.
But it seems like a lot of them is to get more information available to you.
Well,
When you-
I
when you
believe
find
that
it.
a lot of people feel that there's a lot of secret things done, and being transparent, and you're looking for proposals and bids and things like that, I think that's important for the taxpayers and the residents of the town, because I think that they want to know how their money's being spent, and it's not just calling up, 3 contractors that I'm friendly with. They may not give me the best deal.
Well, like I said, we give out a list, there's like 10 contractors. We announce all these and they are in all the meetings of all our meetings, so I wouldn't say they're secret, but we can't necessarily tell everybody by letter or in the newspaper every single thing we're doing. But you're one of the few people that shows up at a meeting or reads the minutes or watches the videos. And that's what we do the video for and all that.
But I do know that contractors read the paper looking for bids and trying to look for bids, so I just.
Right?
The way it stands now, you put out 10 RFPs, sometimes you're lucky to get one
Well,
to
I know,
come back.
it's a tough, it's a great economy.
And
for
these are
construction.
major companies.
Everybody local.
Anybody, anywhere local. We like to keep the money as close to home as we
I
can, but that
appreciate
said,
that, and I get
they
that.
have to be able to complete the work.
Right, oh, absolutely.
There's only certain people that can actually do this.
Local or not, I think we should get the
Just
best
read
bang.
Tilton
Yeah.
Northfield Talking.
What's that?
Just read Tilton Northfield Talking.
Right.
Sandogany Pond Road.
Yeah.
I take exception to the deaf ears comment. I only speak for myself, but whenever I hear any kind of input, I take it really seriously. Not deaf on any level, and like I say, I can't speak for the others, but I happen to know that that works for them too. Nobody just turns a blind eye or has their pals come and do the work for the town.
I first came to the sport, I believe, in 2008, looking to get speed limits reduced on my street, and it took, I'll say, 8 years.
Nothing happens fast. Sorry, but it really doesn't.
Well, I mean,
But you just spoke of a safety issue.
okay, it's a safety issue. There's kids that run around that street, and
If I had the power to make it 15, I would, but I don't.
I mean, if I could go really look at the winter policy and say that you're not fully plowing the sidewalk on Cedar Street. Sidewalk technically goes all the way up to High Street. They only
There's
go
a
to.
whole thing with sidewalks.
Oh, I'm just
We
saying.
can talk about
No, I'm
sidewalks
just saying
sometime.
that.
I'd love to talk to
I
you
said
about
I'd get you out of
sidewalks.
here by midnight, so I don't want to take a long.
But yeah, if there's a sidewalk that's not getting plowed all the way,
I don't think
There's
you
a
can.
whole list of sidewalks.
It's a
that are-
painted sidewalk on Cedar Street
It's
that he's
still a
talking about.
sidewalk.
I know it's,
As I said last week. in your
Most of the
highway
homeowners
maintenance
do their
manual,
own.
there's
okay,
a whole list
I
of
get stereo
sidewalks
two
that
different
don't
things, and I'm
get
trying to
plowed.
answer something from Eric. But if there is something, I would appreciate, I don't know about it. Some people do, I didn't know. But we are working on, that came up last week, that we need, and we're addressing that with the
Kevin
Public
is
Works
coming,
Director, and
yes,
Kevin's coming in
with
to
a
discuss
proposal.
that. And a whole proposal, because we just found out, I think last week, I found out that there were some that weren't.
The highway policy's been in existence for over 10 years.
No.
And Kevin is coming in to address
Yeah, it's just,
that next
That
week.
very
yeah.
issue.
Yeah, because we found out.
I know under a previous,
I have a question about his question.
Hang on.
there was one of the previous highway directors wouldn't go up because there was technically no place and didn't want to blow the sand in people's yards. That was the reason. Sand, because the snowbanks have sand in them from when they sand the roads.
Probably the residents don't want the sand in their yard either.
We got a new highway director, and we'll address any of those. We know all, and it's Cedar Street, and that's on one of the.
It's the Board of Selectmen's highway maintenance policy,
So
not the Public Works Directors.
we're going to be discussing that with the Board of Director of the Public Works next week.
Us,
When,
not them.
Unless it snows, then he won't be here because he'll be out.
It'll be all plowed.
I know. Jason has a question.
Eric, what was your thing about voter registration? What was the glitch?
The glitch,
Yeah,
because it wasn't advertised, well,
wait a minute.
it wasn't said anywhere on the town website
The
that,
Secretary of State doesn't require it. It says it fulfills the letter of the requirements to post at banks and newspapers and all that. So talk to Judy on that. They fulfill the letter of the law. It's a great idea to have it on the website.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
well, she came the first time and she didn't know that she needed a piece of mail that had her address on it as a resident.
Oh, she had to prove residency?
Well, her
Yeah,
license,
voting.
apparently her license wasn't acceptable, so.
That's
Really?
another department.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not us, but that's really, that seems weird.
So that's all
We
I'm
should
gonna say.
develop something for the website.
What if you get no bills at your
Tell
house?
people.
18 years old, what
Registering
bills?
to vote for the first
She happened to
time.
get a piece of makeup in the mail, so she brought the packaging down for that on
And
Monday.
that was it?
No,
I
on
did.
Monday, and that's when she was told that it's 10 days.
Uh,
Even though when she was there last week, she wasn't told, oh, you have to do it by Saturday.
You can do it at the polls.
Oh, I know, she'll go. Thankfully, she goes to school right where the elections are,
Outstanding.
so she can, I won't tell her to skip the class, but she can. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Help yourself.
Now, John, now. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Yeah.